Hello, good evening, and welcome to our Tuesday evening council meeting. We have Mr. Gordon Smith in the audience who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, I believe we're ready to begin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All roll call votes for this meeting will begin with the Councilor of Ward 2.
I understand we have minutes.
You do at the September 2nd meeting.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Councilor
Second.
Gallant, seconded by Councilor Najin. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilor from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We are now up to public comment. Any member of the public may make comments regarding issues pertaining to Lewiston City government. This period is reserved for non-agenda items. Public comment is also allowed during individual agenda items. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your name for the record, and please indicate if you are a Lewiston resident. Because this is the business meeting of the City Council, all questions should be directed to the mayor, who asks staff to follow up at a future time. It is illegal for the City Council to allow comments related to personnel matters. All personnel complaints should be made directly to the City Administration Office.
Charles Arthur Soul, 42 Bradley Street, Lewiston, Maine, age 72. Would someone please tell me where the voting will be held on the 4th of November? Will it be held at individual wards or all at the multipurpose center?
All wards.
All
Please
wards.
continue, and we can follow up with your questions.
Okay, now is there any absentee ballots being collected at nursing homes and stuff like that?
Please continue with your public comment.
That is it. I'm asking you a question. If there are any absentee ballots, are you going to nursing home and collecting votes for people who cannot travel to the polls?
Deputy Administrator O'Malley, can you please hand this gentleman my card, and I will follow up with him.
That's not the answer. Why don't you keep your card because they ain't worth nothing. But anyway, another thing is there early voting? You know, the public should be tired of this stonewalling by this administration. I don't believe it's the fault of the counselors. I believe it's just the admin that's faulty. I don't think we're getting our money's worth either. I would like to leave the remainder of my time to Mr. Agron. Mr. Agron, if you please.
A point of order, Mr. Mayor.
If you can just restart the clock. You will have your 3 minutes, sir. Please continue.
Matthew Agron, Ward 4. One thing I hope the city does regularly is not just focus on our squeaky wheels in both our community and its employees, but also focus on those who show up every day for the city. Many times we, and I use the royal we here, only really focus on who our squeaky wheels problems are and kind of forget those who show up and are just overlooked. But in the end, you know sometimes who's the strength of your organization or the city? Those who show up every time. They see and hear things that those in management roles sometimes overlook or miss. Yet when they come up here before us, because they care, they come up here with important issues, we need to listen to them because they've been in the trenches and seen things that those of you have not seen. Given the city of Lewiston's rich military history, September 9th is National POW MIA Day. I recently spent time with a citizen of Lewiston who was a POW during the Vietnam War. He only was for a short time before he escaped by getting lucky and running and jumping into the American Jeep going by. But that leads me to my next point, mental health. We are seeing firsthand here in Lewiston mental health services not be there or avoided. The biggest case would be October 25th. which will go down as another day where I can be able to tell you forever where I was and what I was doing when it happened. We keep seeing more and more mental health issues out in this world. I'm not sure why, but I have my personal opinions. And when they snap, it's someone they love, or worse, some random stranger they've never met. Yet, with all that, we also live in a time when our political leadership, along with their media insiders and advocacy groups, are pushing a worldview to openly dehumanize their political opponents. This, to some people, provides justification for acts of political violence in the name of the cause. This is not a thing that we should accept anywhere. It should be condemned by all sides of the spectrum and instead hold anyone calling for political violence accountable. Because we need to have safe, public, passionate debates on issues with people who disagree by using the power of your persuasion to change their minds. I have people who I disagree with politically on issues, yet still count as my friends. I respect their opposing views, and they, in return, respect mine.
That's time, thank you. Further public comment?
I have a question. Ronnie Parity, Ward 6. Martell School, can I talk about that now, or do I have to wait for the housing person to come? Is he going to be talking about Martell School? Can you at least tell me that?
I think we will have an update later, but I think you're free to have public comment now if you would like.
Well, I want to know when Martell School is going to be starting the construction, and nobody has given us an answer. Why is everything downtown being done, but Martell School for seniors is not being done? I want an answer to this, and I need it from you, Mayor, and what's his name? Administrator Brian, and stuff like that. You guys, what are you doing to us, you know? Thank you.
Further public comment?
My name is Peter Rubens. I am a board member of Grow LA and the chair of the Grow LA River Working Group. And we've been working with Lewiston and Auburn for the past 15 years to try to improve the Androscoggin River from one of the lowest classes, C, the most polluted rivers, one of the top 10 polluted rivers in the country 50 years ago, to where we hope that it will be in the future. There's two things happening right now that need to be addressed. One of them is the reclassification of the river. Both cities have applied to the Department of Environmental Protection to reclassify the river from the lowest class up to B. We've been doing studies, we've been doing testing of the water for the past 15 years, and the DEP hasn't agreed. So right now, we are going to the Board of Environmental Protection. And on October 16th, there'll be a public meeting, and comments can be sent in to the Board of Environmental Protection by October 22nd. And I'm hoping, Mayor, that it's possible that you might be able to come in for the October 16th meeting and let the people know how important this is to both Lewiston and Auburn. So we've just finished a helicopter testing of the river from Lisbon Falls up to Gulf Island Pond with 9 different locations, 6 times in June, July, August, and September. And all of them have come up high above the minimum for a Class B. And the law says when a river meets a higher classification, it has to be reclassified that. So that's number one. The second thing is that Brookfield is in the process of its next 40-year license. 40 years ago, a group of us appealed to CMP when they built the Monte Hydro, and we asked them for walking paths, a history trail. They thanked us very much for the suggestions and said, no, not right now. So 40 years later, nothing basically has been done by the owners of the hydro plants. When they did build the hydro plant, the water coming over the falls was 140 times a year. Now it's down to 40 times a year. It reduced that much. And so it's important right now for the city of Lewiston to put the pressure on Brookfield for the application of 40 timed releases over the falls. Both Lewiston and Auburn have asked for that for maybe Friday nights or Saturday, and Brookfield has come back and offered us 6. So this is going to happen. Hopefully, they want to do this by the end of this year. So we need to put some pressure on there on that. So I hope the City Council will endorse the request for Class B, and we thank you for all of the help that we've been receiving from both Lewiston and Auburn. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Further public comment? Public comment is now closed. I believe we have an administrator report from Administrator Kainrath.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Starting off our search for our new chief of police, our application period did close last week. The city received a total of 18 applicants for the position. I'm now working with the advisory committee on calling through those applicants and determining a list of those to interview. That will be happening over the next few weeks. The names of the advisory committee were also released last week. And we still hope to name a new chief by sometime in October. Some staff milestones and recognitions. Our chief assessor, Bill Healy, was recently awarded last week at Sunday River the Assessor of the Year Award by the Maine Association of Assessing Officers. So congratulations to Bill Healy. Also in our assessing office, Ashley Kelly and Tim Field both passed their certified Maine assessor exams to become certified assessors. So congrats to both Ashley and Tim on their hard work there. I'd also like to welcome Chrisdonna Cusson. She's our new executive assistant in the administration department. She started with us last week and is off to a very strong start, juggling a very busy position. So welcome to Chrisdonna. My next City Administrator's Public Open Office Hours event will be held on September 30th, 5 to 6:30. We're going to be finalizing the location in the coming days, and we'll release that to the public. So again, that's September 30th, 5 to 6:30. Look forward to seeing everyone there. And of course, all Lewiston residents, local business owners, or anyone else are welcome and encouraged to come and tell me their thoughts or complaints or views on anything and everything. So look forward to that. Group homes, a quick word. We've received a number of complaints on group homes around the city. The number has been increasing substantially over the past number of years. Local governments do have relatively little authority to regulate and monitor these homes. So we have met with members of our legislative delegation, including Senator Rotundo and Representative Joy, to really discuss what changes can be made at the legislative level to help local governments better monitor these homes and to increase transparency, accountability, and enforcement. So more to come on that, but they're hoping to submit something for the short session coming up over the winter. A reminder, our busking festival will be taking place on October 4th, beginning at 4 p.m. on Lisbon Street between Ash and Maine. This is Lewiston, and we believe the state of Maine's first busking festival. It's called Lewiston Live. And again, October 4th, 4 p.m. On Lisbon Street between Ash and Maine. I'd like to thank Special Assistant Joe Grockmall for all of his hard work in getting this off the ground and really what is a short amount of time to get an event like this moving. So thank you, Joe. Please mark your calendars. The Wiseman Bridge, we are still working on relighting the Wiseman Bridge. I would like to thank Dan Rodrigue and Public Works for their efforts. This is going to happen. It's taken a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we are still optimistic this will happen this year before the weather turns too cold. And just of note, they have been talking to some former Public Works employees, and it appears that this bridge has not been lit since at least the late 1960s. So someone was here in 1970 and said the bridge was not lit at that time. The lights were broken. So we're talking about 60 years here. It's been dark. So this should be a monumental event for us. Lastly, I just want to mention in the Lewiston Housing Authority's last update to this council, Director Kilmurray did say that the Martell groundbreaking would be later this year in the fall. But they are going to be back here tonight for a report with us later this evening, so we may hear more about it then. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Kinrath. We appreciate your service to our city. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a consent agenda.
We do. There, excuse me, there are 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item number 1, authorization to accept transfer of forfeiture funds. And item number 2, order authorizing execution of municipal quitclaim deed for real estate located at 291 Lisbon Street.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove one item from the consent agenda.
And which one would that be, Councilor
I
Hammond?
have some questions that haven't been answered about number 1.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we will now just have the consent agenda for item number 2.
Sure, item number 2. Item number 2 would be on the consent agenda, which is order authorizing execution of municipal quitclaim deed for real estate located at 291 Lisbon Street.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Counselor Chittum,
Second.
second by Counselor Najin. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, so we have item number 1 to do, and then followed by item number 3. But at this point, I would like to take items 11 and 12 now. I am anticipating that they will be much shorter than originally planned, and we want to send these very fine people on their way as quickly as possible. Okay, Madam Clerk, item number 11.
Yes, item number 11, hearing regarding the property at 54 Knox Street to ratify actions by the Code Enforcement Department and Fire Department to determine the building was unsafe for occupancy as of August 7th, 2025. There are 2 items for requested action. The first item, to conduct a hearing to determine if the building located at 54 Knox Street had met the dangerous building statutes as defined in Title 17, Section 2851 et al. As of August 7th, 2025.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor,
you. Yes.
I
Counselor
mo-
Chittum.
I move that this be tabled until October 7th.
I appreciate that, and I would like to entertain that, but first, based on the feedback from our general counsel, we need to proceed with this really quickly.
Okay.
For the public's benefit and information, I'm joined here by General Counsel Mike Carey. This evening, we will conduct 2 hearings. This agenda item is the first hearing. First, the council will determine whether the structure at 54 Knox Street posed a serious threat to public health and safety on August 8, 2025, within the meaning of Section 2856 of Title 17, and if so, whether the threat to the public health and safety required prompt action. Second, in the next agenda item, the council will determine whether the structure currently poses a serious threat to public health and safety, whether the structure is a nuisance or dangerous building within the meaning of Section 2851 of Title 17, and if so, what disposal must be made of the structure. The structure is owned by Andrews Management, LLC. Franklin Savings Bank has an encumbrance on the real estate. Yaqub Abdirahman, Omar Mohammed, Zakira Hassan, and Abdi Malim, and Safi Wabdul are tenants in the structure. I ask that any owner or party of interest, including tenants, introduce yourself, including your name and position. Is an owner, party in interest, or representative present? Please head to the podium and introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Matthew Mastrogiacomo. I am an attorney in Lewiston here, and I'm joined here tonight representing my client, Roger Andrews of Andrews Management, LLC, who's the owner of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Chris Wright. I'm an attorney with Monahan Leahy, representing Franklin Savings Bank.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roger Andrews, owner of Andrews Management.
Any other owner, party in interest, or representative present? Does any city council member know an owner or another party in interest or have knowledge about this matter that means you could not fairly and impartially hear the facts and decide the matter based on the evidence present at this hearing? I understand that the owner has requested council to continue this matter until the next council meeting to be held October 7th. Director Connor, what is staff's position?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councilors. Andrews Management has requested staying this dangerous building hearing until your next meeting on October 7th so that they can have more time to complete a rehabilitation plan. My department, as well as the fire department, has set over 10 expectations of Mr. Andrews to decrease the likelihood of fire and to better protect public health and safety in the event of a fire. To his credit, Mr. Andrews has been working diligently with our staff and has met those conditions we've set to reduce the immediate risk and hazards of the building. Therefore, pending your approval, we recommend a stay of the hearing until October 7th.
Thank you.
Can we speak on the public on that?
No.
Why not?
If audience members could please refrain from speaking, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Madam Clerk,
Yes, sir.
I believe that we'll incorporate both of these both of these agenda items into this motion.
Items 11 and 12?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. I would like a motion to table.
Now?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I move to table items 11 and 12 until October 7th.
Thank you, Councilor Chittum.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Harriman. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2? Yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you, Director Connor. Thank you, Mr. Carey. Give us a second to reset the House here.
Thanks, Mike.
Are you guys all, are we good down there?
I think so. We're all
Madam Clerk, item number 1.
Item number 1. Item number 1, authorization to accept transfer of forfeiture funds. Requested action that pursuant to Title 15 Maine Revised Statutes annotated Section 5824(3) and Section 5822, the City Council hereby acknowledges and approves of the transfer of items as outlined on the attached listing, less administrative fees or any portion thereof in the cases of the U.S. Department of Justice Drug Enforcement Administration versus the cases outlined on the attached listing, being funds forfeited pursuant to court process. It is further acknowledged that these funds shall be credited to the City of Lewiston Drug Enforcement Program account.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum, second by Councilor Gallant. And Deputy Administrator O'Malley, can you speak to this, or do we have someone here from the Police Department?
I see Lieutenant Thies sitting in the background. If Councilor Harriman said he had questions about that, if it's in regards to the value of Bitcoin, I don't think Lieutenant Thies could answer that question, Councilor Harriman.
Lieutenant Thies, please join us. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. Yeah, I had contacted staff with some questions about these, the non-currency items on here, just how we handle them, and I hadn't received a response. So first off, it mentions 199 point something Bitcoin. If you look that up, that's worth over $23 million, which would be amazing if that's true. I just wanted to check that that's accurate.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is, how do we handle Bitcoin when it's, I know when we receive currency, we just put it in the bank and wait until we spend it. With cryptocurrency being very volatile, I don't know if this is more of a question for the finance director, but how do we handle that when we receive it? Do we cash it in, put it in the bank, or what do we do with that?
I would defer that to the finance director.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have those answers.
Okay.
It's new to me as well.
The second item was the real estate at 249 Merrill Road. I was also wondering what we do with real estate that's forfeited. Do we typically just put it on the market?
Yeah, typically that would go up for auction, that whoever the federal agent, I think it's DEA, they would put it up for auction, then we would get the proceeds from it.
Okay, so we don't even have to do the work of...
No, sir.
Okay. Perfect. And then the last thing, there were a couple of firearms, and I know those come through occasionally. Do we typically just sell those to a local gun shop, or
No,
what do we do with those?
we're not an FFA, so we typically, what we do is after a forfeiture, we melt them, destroy
Okay.
them.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it. That's all the questions I had.
Councilor Chittum, did you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Lieutenant, my understanding is that do we actually see the handguns, or do we see cash? There are other agencies that are involved in the distribution of these forfeiture funds. And isn't it another agency that liquidates all of this and then apportions the cash to various?
That's correct, yes.
So we're really only talking about cash.
Correct,
And I
yes.
want to make certain that people understand that the city of Lewiston is not receiving $23 million.
No, sir. And that, what happens is in a case, and especially the federal cases, it gets distributed by the various agencies that are involved. So we wouldn't get the full amount. I believe that case might originate out of Philadelphia, so there's probably a lot of agencies. I think we would get considerably less than that. I wish we were getting the 23, but we wouldn't.
It certainly would be nice, I agree.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Further questions from the council? Public comment for this agenda item?
Melissa Dunn, community organizer. I reside in the downtown. I don't really know much of what's going on or whatever, but I just wanted to inform. I'm not sure of when the article was released, but there was an article saying that guns were to be destroyed and they were resold for parts. And I believe it was like Maine, an article in Maine, but I'd have to look that up. But I think that's important information to know because we can't always know or have it guaranteed when it's law enforcement saying that the weapons are being destroyed.
Further public comment? Back to the council. Lieutenant Thies, do you mind? I guess I just want to clarify what you said. So, weapons, firearms that are recovered by Lewiston Police Department, what happens to them?
We destroy those.
Excellent.
Melt them. Yeah, we actually take them over to the incinerator. It's a vetting process that.
Like the department personally sees to that?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Further comments, questions from the council? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Excuse me, Council from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are now up to item 3, I believe.
Item 3, public hearing on an application for a new liquor license for Du Bois Cafe, 906 Sabata Street. Requested action to authorize the city clerk's office to approve a new liquor license application for Du Bois Cafe, 906 Sabata Street.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum,
Second.
second by Councilor Harriman. Questions, comments from the council? Public comment? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 4.
Item number 4, public hearing for approval of an outdoor entertainment permit for the Dempsey Challenge. Requested action to conduct a public hearing on an application from the Dempsey Challenge Committee for outdoor musical concerts to be held at Samard Payne Memorial Park on September 20th and 21st as part of the Dempsey Challenge, and to authorize a permit for an outdoor entertainment event as required by the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 1, Section 10-3, to the organizing committee for the outdoor music concerts, contingent upon positive recommendations from the police department, fire department, code land use officer, and code health officer regarding compliance with all regulations and compliance with all city ordinances.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum.
Second.
Second by Councilor Najin. Discussion? Public comment? Back to the council. Wait, did you?
Just looking forward to it, that's all.
Oh, okay. I believe Patrick will be in town, yes. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Word 6?
Yes.
Word 7?
Yes.
Word 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Item number 5.
Item number 5, public hearing for approval of an outdoor entertainment permit for a musical concert for the Canal Street Block Party. Requested action to conduct a public hearing on an application for an outdoor entertainment event on Canal Street and to grant a permit for an outdoor entertainment event as required by the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 1, Section 10-3 to MDOT and Public Works for an outdoor music concert to be held along Canal Street on Friday, September 26th, contingent upon positive recommendations from the Police Department, Fire Department, Code Health Officer, and Land Use Inspector regarding compliance with all regulations and compliance with all city ordinances.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Counselor Chittum, second by Counselor Gallant. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm gonna
Counselor Stoll.
I'm going to recuse myself from this agenda item. My husband is providing the entertainment.
Gotcha. Thank you. Further comments, questions from council? Public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 6.
Item number 6, public hearing on an application from Grimmel's Industries, 50 River Road, for an automobile graveyard junkyard permit. Requested action to grant an automobile graveyard junkyard permit to Grimmel's Industries, 50 River Road, subject to the following conditions. 1, hours of operation shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 2, maintain screening from the main turnpike.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Counselor Chittum, second by Counselor Harriman. Discussion? Public comment? Back to the council. Counselor Chittum.
Hey,
Well,
let's not get too quick, all right? I know you
We're-
guys-
We're
I know
striving
you
for
guys are
efficient
pretty quick.
meetings, and I appreciate the public's
Thank you.
patience. We're now back to public comment.
Okay, Charles Arthur Soul, 42. I noticed that there's 4 items on this agenda that deals with automobile graveyards, and they're looking for a permit. One of them is the city of Lewiston. So we have 3 public entities in business, and yet the city wants to do battle with the other 3 entities. Why would the city need a junkyard when you have 3 other permits on this agenda looking for a license? That's all I'm going to ask. 'Cause I know
Further
I'm gonna
public
get
com-
no answer. And then one thing, I would be happy if we had a woman police chief this round.
That is not germane to this agenda
I
item.
know,
Thank
but I
you.
got it on camera, and that's all I cared about. At 72, people don't scare me as much as they used to.
Further public comment? Back to the council. Yes, Counselor Chittum.
Pertaining to this particular item, the Grimmel's screening on the main turnpike is always an issue on the Grimmel's. It's always brought up as a condition, and yet you can drive by on the main turnpike and still see it. What are the requirements for screening for that junkyard?
I don't know specifically. That is a requirement from the Department of Planning and Code Enforcement, so we will have to ask them on that. Oh, fantastic.
And
Sorry.
Director John Connor has appeared. Please, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilor Chittum. So the definition of screening that we have is either trees, shrubbery, or fencing that is not chain link that can be viewed through. So any type of fencing of that nature. I know with this particular case, sometimes during the season it is screened. Other times when the leaves fall, it's not. So we take that into consideration that they've met the intent to screen it as best they can with the trees and the shrubbery.
Thank you, Director. I do understand they have chain link fence with visual barriers intertwined, as well as the trees, and it's the topography that makes it difficult. My concern is that if screening is required and people drive by, hey, I'm in Lewiston, oh, there's a junkyard, whether or not code is satisfied that the intent is being met, even though perhaps the impression of Lewiston is not being carried forward.
I understand.
Further, yes, Counselor Najin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Director Cotter, just to verify, I believe this is correct. Anytime you have 2 or more unregistered vehicles, on a piece of property that is considered a vehicle graveyard, am I correct?
Vehicle graveyard.
And therefore, you have to apply for an application, so, gotcha. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 3? I'm sorry, Ward 2? Yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
No.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 to 1.
Item number 7.
Item number 7, public hearing on an application from St. Laurent Properties, Main Heavy Equipment, 1445 Sabata Street for an automobile graveyard junkyard permit. Requested action to grant an automobile graveyard junkyard permit to St. Laurent Properties, Main Heavy Equipment, 1445 Sabata Street.
So moved.
May I have a motion? Yes, thank you, Councilor Chittum, followed by Councilor Gallant. Discussion from the council. Public comment. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote. Councilor Chittum, did you?
I simply want to note for the record that this particular automobile graveyard is well screened and it's not visible from any traveled way.
Thank you. Further comments from the council? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2? Yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Item number 8.
Item number 8, public hearing on an application from the Lewiston Public Works Department, 420 River Road, for an automobile graveyard junkyard permit. Requested action to grant an automobile graveyard junkyard permit to the Lewiston Public Works Department, 420 River Road.
May I have a
So
motion,
moved.
please?
So
Councilor Harriman, followed by Councilor Chittum. Discussion? Yes, Councilor Chittum.
In reference to Mr. Sol's question, I don't know that this junkyard is in use. Is this simply in case we need it until we can dispose of vehicles at one of the other junkyards or at a salvage company? And I guess that's a question for administration.
We can follow up with you. I don't want to follow up with Director Gagne first.
Thank you.
Public comment for this agenda item?
Ronnie Parity, Ward 6. I'd like to know why at the beginning of my street, there's a junkyard with junk cars that nothing has been done about it. And I've complained about it for 15 years and everything. And even
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor
Yes,
Chittum, no.
thank you.
So
We will
I-
have staff follow up with you about that.
Well, they have followed up, but nobody has done anything about it.
We'll have them follow up again. Further public comment? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2? Yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Item number 9.
Item number 9, public hearing on an application from Resource Waste Services of Lewiston LLC, 38 Alfred A. Plord Parkway, for an automobile graveyard junkyard permit. Requested action to grant an automobile graveyard junkyard permit to Resource Waste Services of Lewiston LLC, 38 Alfred A. Plord Parkway, subject to the attached conditions.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor
Second.
Chittum, second by Councilor Harriman. Discussion? Public comment for this agenda item? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2? Yes. Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Item number 10.
Item number 10, public hearing and first passage to amend the business license ordinance for the licensing of syringe service programs. Requested action that the proposed amendments to Chapter 22 business licenses, Article 15 syringe service programs of the city's Code of Ordinances receive first passage by a roll call vote, and that the public hearing on said ordinance be continued to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum.
Second.
Second by Councilor Gallant. Director Connor, thank you for joining us. So here's the plan for this evening, so we can have a plan. How many members of the public are here to speak on this agenda item, just by a show of hands? Okay. Because of, we've taken a while to get here, but we've made it. There's been several workshops and so on and so forth, and we are likely to consider various amendments going forward this evening. So I think at this point, we're going to open up with a public comment so everyone can hear, so we can hear your comments now. If we get to amendments that I feel are substantially different or something new, then there might be public comment on that. But yeah, we're open up with public comment. Please step up to the podium. And those who want to speak, if we can start forming a line so we can start just moving through this efficiently as possible. We will all have 3 minutes apiece and no more than 3 minutes apiece.
Ronnie Parity, Ward 6. I agree with,
One second. Councillor Glant, did you have something?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have to disagree with you only in the sense a lot of the things we are going to talk about amendment-wise might eliminate some people getting up here to speak. I think we should do our due diligence first so they understand where we're going direction-wise, and then let them answer to our comments, sir.
Thank you.
that's fine.
Yeah, well-
I agree with Tim.
Unless there's a further strong objection from the council, I would like to proceed with public comment. So please continue. Councillor Chittum, yes.
I agree with Councillor Gallant that perhaps if the public gets a sense of where the council is heading in this, that will give them a chance to inform their comments perhaps a little more succinctly.
And how does the rest of the council feel at this point?
Yes, I agree.
So we'll wait to have public comment.
Right.
Apologize for getting you all up out of your chairs so early here.
Yay, Tim.
Okay. Director Connor, is there anything you'd like to say before we kick things off here?
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. Mr. Mayor and councilors, thank you. I appreciate you delaying this during my absence at the last council meeting. You have all received the updated draft version that the city attorney, their office has spent several hours going over this and cleaning up the very rough draft that I initially gave you all. I understand there's some comments and some questions and some edits to it, and I'm here to answer anything that I can. But it's what you see is what you get, and open to any discussions and however I can help out with this particular ordinance.
Thank you. I would like to, kind of, I guess the first thing I want to talk about, since this has been talked about quite a bit, I want to hear Councilor's thoughts on one-to-one, whether we should keep it in the ordinance or pull it out. Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to have a little speech beforehand. I've taken a thorough look at all of the drafts that have come before council for this ordinance. I have circulated to council and administration. There are copies of my comments in the public information box at the rear of the council chamber. And I have basically created 4 levels or tiers of concerns. I would hope tonight to address the top level tier, that's the 60,000-foot view. And the first of those is the question of one-for-one limitations on syringe service providers. With that in mind, I think it's appropriate that I would make a motion now to amend the draft ordinance before us to remove any reference to one-for-one exchanges. And I can give you specifics on that should you desire. But the general motion of the amendment would be to remove any references to one-for-one exchange.
I'll second the motion.
One second, councilors, if I may. I'm waiting for our clerk. You're wearing a very nice shirt this evening, Director Connor. Madam Clerk, as soon as you're available, you're
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. So we have Councillor Chittum is requesting that we remove everything, I'm sorry, all mention of one-to-one from the ordinance. Do we, for the purposes of this amendment, will that suffice, or do we need to outline the specific sections and verbiage that needs to be removed?
We can do it as a blanket statement because I think it's only referenced in potentially 2 sections. Counselor 1 would be under section 22-492 under definitions, and then the other one under 22-494 A4 regarding the one-to-one. But it may be referenced other places, but I don't believe so.
You're saying a blanket statement could be fine for an amendment?
That could be, yes, could be an amendment, yes.
Okay. Councillor Chittum, could you mind just repeating
There are 2 other specific places in the ordinance that refer to one-for-one. Section 22-499, subparagraph 1, and subparagraph 5.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, do you have the amendment?
I do, yes, thank you.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I second that.
Councilor Harriman has seconded it. We are now discussing this amendment. Councilor Sol.
So I oppose the amendment. Surprise. And my reason is for this. Because we keep being told that contact is the most important part of this program, making contact with that individual who is using drugs. With the one-to-one ratio, that's going to give you more contact. That doesn't suggest that you only can receive 1 syringe. It just means if you bring in 5, you get 5. If you bring in 1, you get 1. If you're handing out multiple syringes, you're going to see that client less times. It just, the more you give out, they're going to share with their friends. They're not going to need to come back. You're not going to have that contact. With the one-to-one, there's going to be less needle litter. And you figure if you can bring in 1 dirty syringe and you can leave with 100, that's 99 needles that are potentially going to end up in the ground. So my vote would be to keep that one-to-one.
Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. Just a couple points that contradicts what the providers have told us. Also, if somebody has no syringes to bring in, then there is no contact at all.
Councilor Longchamps.
Yes. I'd like to keep the one-for-one. I'd like that to remain in the ordinance. That's really all I have to say for that.
Councilor Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would agree to strike the one-for-one only because, well, for a few reasons. Best practices, doctors, healthcare professionals, everybody is saying if we go back to one-for-one, we are going to look at outbreaks for hepatitis, AIDS, all these diseases that we cannot afford to. We're going to spend more money on that. I also think that, if somebody doesn't have needles to bring back, then they are going to go out and use dirty needles. That is what they're going to do. This is what this is going to promote. So that's my reasoning for that. Best practices.
Councilor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm for one-for-one with a little different caveat. I don't necessarily believe that I got to bring a needle in first-time people. I think we should set a limit for when they come in. Anybody who knows anything, and I have a degree in drug and alcohol addiction from the University of Maine, will understand that people who use fentanyl could use 10 a day. Okay, so not a one-for-one doesn't always apply to whatever that person is using. I personally would like to see a cap of 10 a day and 25 on Friday for the weekend, because now we only have one provider and there's nobody available for anybody on weekends. we're wrapped up around needle waste and not wrapped up around saving individuals. Having lost a son to a drug overdose and understanding truly what it means in a loss in a family, I could care less about the syringes on the ground and getting somebody treatment. And if you lose a person and they're close to you, you're going to understand that. Now, is the trash a problem? Yes. Do we address it in this policy? Not to the level maybe we could or should. Part of that's probably because the state doesn't do their part, and we're expected to pick things up from a different angle. I believe this is a good faith document to start a process, and like anything that we do policies is to align it with 3, 6, 9 months from now, reevaluate. Okay, we have something that we can work with, and we can sit back and say it's not working here and it's working really good here. And that's the whole purpose behind a policy. A policy is not made to be blanket, and though we have some in Lewiston that have been around for 50 years, okay, it's not designed for that, especially something as critical as this. I think we need to look at the individuals. Yes, somebody coming in needs to bring in dirty needles. First-timers, they don't have any. They don't know maybe the rules of what's going on. But the contact is what it's all about. And one contact now may not prove anything, but 6 months from now when the light bulb turns on, that person could all of a sudden get the care and need that they have because they remember talking to somebody about going here or going someplace else in this process. Having nothing at all means no contact. Quite frankly, here you go. We might as well just go out there and just put needle dispensers all over town. And you're still going to be on the ground. Okay? So you're not going to cure anything from a standpoint of trying to help a human being move on to something better in their life. And the purpose for me is a better life. The trash is important. The danger to citizens is definitely important. That's a different piece that needs to be fixed and worked on. But we need to talk about human beings who need some kind of form to move forward, or they will use dirty needles. So I cannot support not having it.
Councillor Najin.
So the best practices for public health policy is a many for one exchange or a many for none exchange. Ultimately, if you know people are going to be injecting drugs and they're present and asking for needles, then not giving them a needle isn't going to stop them from using drugs. It's a fact. One of the challenges I think that we see is we're looking at an overall ordinance that misses some of the pieces that I think is important for our community. And part of that is connection to and care for our overall community as well as people who use drugs. And so when I say that, I would absolutely support a many for one model or a many for none model based on the partner. And that's really the challenge that I have right here. I can't say that I'm willing to go many for one or one for one when it's just a business license that is put out into the community for anyone to take, including folks who can be hostile to our community, hostile to the people who use drugs in our community, hostile to the businesses in our community, hostile to the residents who pay our taxes. And so, I would want to possibly postpone this one for one or many for one until we can go over some of the other high level pieces, because I think that will determine whether or not I support a many for one model.
Councillor Harriman, did you have something else?
Yes, just a couple points. So one, the business licenses that this ordinance would provide are approved by the council. So we have control over which partners, whoever applies for one, we have control over who gets a license. The other issue I was going to bring up was about the contact, and people have mentioned that it's important for people to come back multiple times. The issue, though, is some of the other provisions of this ordinance are going to make it more difficult by restricting the number of SSPs in town, prohibiting mobile SSPs, and by zoning SSPs to the outskirts of town. It's going to make it harder for people to have that. It sounds like some people would prefer daily contact, and that would be great, but when you add all these other restrictions up, it makes it more difficult for people to get there. The other piece I wanted to address is litter, and I know that it is a big problem, but this ordinance doesn't address litter in any way. I think the city needs to use some of our opioid settlement money to install more sharps boxes, to fund more cleanups. I mean, there's an area near my house in particular that I typically find 2 to 3 syringes there on the ground every week when I do a weekly litter pickup there. I've been trying to get somebody to install a sharps box there.
Excuse me, Councillor Harriman, if we can keep these comments germane to the amendment, that would be great.
I'm sorry, what wasn't germane to the amendment?
What you're discussing right now, sharps containers. We're talking about 1 for 1. And that's what this amendment is addressing, whether
Yes,
1 for 1 is in the final ordinance or not. That's what's germane.
Yes, and many councilors have brought up litter as a problem that 1 for 1 would fix. And I'm proposing an alternative to fixing the litter problem that is more based in evidence.
Anything further to add, Councillor?
That's all I've got for right now.
Thank you. Councillor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's not forget that this entire ordinance and the trials that council and the citizens of Lewiston have been through since last November were occasioned by one particular syringe provider. That provider has lost and has had its state certification revoked. There has been another provider in Lewiston that has been doing good work under the radar, unnoticed, non-impactive of the citizens and residents of Lewiston. One of my concerns is that when we draft this ordinance, when we enact this ordinance, that we be as light-handed as possible. The question of 1 for 1 is a restriction on a business that is uncalled for, particularly today after the actor who occasioned this ordinance is no longer a character in the drama. This is going to be, this 1 for 1 restriction is a bunch of lay people on the city council contravening what has been a flood of best practices medical evidence indicating that multiple needles are needed for harm reduction. For us to tell the Maine CDC that harm reduction is not important in Lewiston, that we are going to require for the alleged purposes of eliminating needle litter, that we're going to require all of our operators in Lewiston to adhere to a standard that has been demonstrated to be counter to general public health. That's my rationale for removing the 1-to-1, proposing that amendment. Thank you.
Back to you, Councillor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. I think part of the stigma for this whole thing is people hear 1-to-1, they think you're going to give somebody 1 needle. None of the health professionals are against 1 for 1. When the concept comes, someone's going to get multiple needles, okay? So let's clear that up. In the beginning, the thought of some members of the council is you only get 1. Have a nice day. Now, we'd like to see it so that it's not so restrictive, but I'll go back to where I said before, we have to start somewhere. We might find 6 months from now that Councilman Chittum's correct. We can't have it here this way. Or Councilor Harriman is correct. But you got to start somewhere with some process so you can move forward. We have not kicked the ball down the road. We have worked hard, and our director has worked hard on trying to put something together in a very complicated and a very, very, controversial area, quite frankly. Because we have plenty of people, we've seen the hands raised, who are going to talk against any kind of limiting distribution, because their side, similar to my side, is harm reduction. We want to help people. We want to save them. But there are people out there who has a right to be able to use a park behind us, which side of my hat here, that don't want to see needles laying everywhere when their kids are out there running around. You know? So that's a real tough thing to work with. But I think we as a body need to put together something that we can move forward with, and it can be changed. It can be changed 2 months from now. We may determine that quickly that we have a huge problem and this isn't working. But if we don't do something, guess what? It's not going to work at all.
Yes, Councillor Sol.
Yeah, I just, first, yes, harm reduction is important, but it's important to everybody. It's important to the entire city. And right now, the only individuals that anyone really seems to be worried about are the users. So I just want to make that point clear, that it is important, but it's important for the entire city. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. And I also wanted to remind everyone that prior to COVID, the best practice per CDC was the one-for-one exchange. So that would be some harm reduction. You want a needle, you bring us a dirty needle. And I don't know what's happened since COVID to make that not the best practice anymore, because I don't see how 1 for 100 could possibly be the best practice for anyone. Bangor has 3 programs and they have 27 cases of HIV. So I don't see that the 1 for 100 is really helping anyone. So that's all I have to say.
Councillor Roy.
Thank you. Listening to Councillor Gallant, I don't let a lot of people know this. I do have a certification in addiction counseling also. And what I would throw out there, I mean, if we're going to look at numbers and all that stuff, maybe, and we have to start somewhere, how about 5 needles a day with a chance to get 25 for the week if you sit through an information session, clean handling of needles, waste, proper use, stuff like that. I mean, if we have to start somewhere, I can't get behind a one-on-one. I can't do that.
Councillor Najin.
So just real quickly, I've spent some time traveling around to different SSPs and having conversations with different groups within the state. And one of the things that becomes pretty clear, people who use drugs can be in very vulnerable situations where they don't actually have, for instance, I'll give you 3 quick examples. Your backpack's stolen. That's where your needles were. You don't have needles to exchange, but now you're at the needle exchange. You've checked into a shelter. They take your needles, the clean ones. And so now you don't have any clean ones or dirty ones. You get arrested. This happens all the time. There are folks who use and actually dispose of their needles in sharps boxes. It happens. We see the numbers. That doesn't mean that that's a needle that goes back or a syringe that goes back to the SSP. So I think the real challenge here is saying that we know somebody is in front of us who is going to use drugs, and they're going to use them intravenously, and we're not going to give them clean needles in order to make sure that, or in order to reduce the chance of needle sharing and passing on of communicable bloodborne diseases. The challenge, again, that I have is that any partner that I want to see in my community functioning here would be one that understands our community, cares about our community, cares about the people who are suffering from SUD as well as the people who live aside them. Ultimately, we're not a service provider for the entire county. We're not a service provider for the entire state. Needs-based services need to be built out for the people who live here. And so that's why I have a real issue with moving forward past this one-for-one piece until we talk about the other pieces. So
I want to chime in. Thank you, councillors. I'm going to chime in, and then I do want to go to public comment for this agenda item. Yeah, so there's no doubt in my mind, we need an ordinance to cover some things, as already mentioned, zoning and so on and so forth. I guess what like some of you have already stated, I have a real problem, getting into the weeds and telling SSPs like how to operate and pretending that we know best when we have doctors, public health professionals, counselors telling us what works, and we have the data to back it up. Overdose deaths are down over the last couple of years, and this is in large part due to harm reduction and the work that is ongoing. I'm really concerned that if we institute a one-for-one policy here in Lewiston, it's really a step backwards. Yeah, thank you. We're now going to head to public comment for this agenda item. Counselor, we will come back to us. Public comment, please.
Ronnie Parity, Ward 6. I worked for the CDC for over 10 years. The top of the CDC doesn't always know what's going on out in the field. I was out in the field and walked the streets as a public health nurse for the city of Lewiston. I've been in every apartment practically on every tree street here. And I agree with the one-to-one. Thank you, Councilor Sol, because you care about the other people in Lewiston and not just the substance abuse. There's other people in Lewiston, and they throw the junk away. I've seen it. I saw it. You don't listen to the boots on the ground. You listen to the top that have never been out on the streets of Lewiston and know what's going on. I don't want my dog, I don't want another person to pick up a syringe and have fentanyl or something else murdered. They can die just like that. We got to think about our whole population. And do you know that Spurwink, nobody knows about Spurwink?
If you could please lower your voice, I would appreciate it.
I'm upset because no one knows about Spurwink. I was telling some people today, they didn't even know about Spurwink. Okay? So they're not even advertising that they're around. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is and everything. I've been on the streets. I know what's going on. And you guys got to start listening to the people who are on the streets. And I agree with how John Connors has written up this amendment. And it's like Councilor Sol said, if someone brings in 5 syringes, give them 5 syringes. That's what it means, one-to-one, okay? You are doing harm by giving all the freedom. The CDC at the top doesn't know all the things that goes on the street level. They have done a lot of harm, and I know I worked for them for 10 years.
Charles Sol, 42 Bartlett Street, Lewiston, Maine. When I was in the United States Navy, I was a counselor for the command on board an aircraft carrier. I could sink a person's career, or I could give them opportunities to heal. I walk around early in the morning in the city, and so far, within the last couple of years, I found actual boxes of syringes. Some of them were by Webb's, and some of them were just laid out in the open, so I confiscated them and I got rid of them. I believe that I have no problem with a one-to-one like people say, and maybe if they show up without the needle, you say, okay, great, we're going to help you out. Another thing is that I would like the organization being given the permit or license that they have to report how many syringes they pass out a month. That way it doesn't become rampant in society. And you know, I'm out every morning about 3, 4 o'clock, especially when it was daylight. But I haven't found that many syringes within the inner city like I used to, which is a good thing. But I do believe that a reporting to the code enforcement or whatever, or you know, whatever you decide, would be should be mandatory, because that way we can see where the syringes are going and how many are going. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Lisa Miller, and I am a family medicine and addiction medicine physician practicing in Norway, Maine, just 30 minutes down the road. And I come to you as an ally, as a neighbor, as a healthcare worker to plead reconsidering some of the aspects of this ordinance. I know you've been inundated by data, and I know you know that syringe service programming cuts down on infections and improper needle disposal, so I'm not going to tell you any of that. I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is about my experience as a brand new addiction medicine fellow rotating on the inpatient ward at Maine Medical Center 6 years ago. Our team was consulted to see a 68-year-old gentleman who was unfortunately plagued by a fentanyl addiction by which he injected up to 5 times a day. I met with this sweet man and his daughter who both wanted nothing more than to escape this condition that had plagued him for so long. Unfortunately, the surgeons had to get him out of the woods first because he was admitted for infective endocarditis, i.e., as we've come to call it because of how commonly we see this, is an incredibly dangerous infection of the heart and bloodstream that often kills people even after months and months of IV antibiotics. Upon intake, we developed a comprehensive plan which included medication support, counseling, family intervention, as well as close follow-up. Given the complexity of the case, I chose the following day to present him as a case presentation at our conference, which we had once a week. The next day, just minutes before I went to present his case, I found that he had passed away on the OR table due to complications of his valve replacement. Perhaps this infection could have been prevented if he didn't have to share needles or if he experienced earlier intervention from a healthcare system that made him feel safe to seek out care before it was too late. So in closing, harm reduction goes way beyond needle exchanges. We connect people with services once we get them in the door. I challenge you, if this was your loved one or your family member, and my condolences to you, Councilor Gallant, I'm sorry for your loss, would you deny them a chance at effective and evidence-based treatment?
Hi, Paul Vinsel. I'm an addiction medicine physician working with Spurwank here in Lewiston and at the Central Maine Medical Center Family Medicine Residency. I want to start off how Councilor Stoll, I agree totally. The health of the community is very, very important. And in fact, I heard in an interview with the author of the Blue Zone book who found that when people in a community feel safe, their longevity increases. So I think it's important that the people of Lewiston feel safe. I couldn't agree more. I just want to give you a little bit of idea of why someone would need more needles than we would think they would. First of all, we only want someone to use a needle once. In the hospital, if you try to start an IV with a needle and you don't get the vein, you throw that needle away and you get a new one. Every time you put a needle through the skin to try to get into a vein, you make that needle more dull. The next time you use it, there will be more trauma and more risk of localized infection. So we won't only want a patient in the ER to have a needle once when we get an IV. We only want a person who's injecting fentanyl to inject once with each needle. Fentanyl, unfortunately, has a very low half-life. Back in the good old days of heroin, people would not have to inject 10 times a day. But fentanyl only lasts an hour. When we're using it in the emergency department for trauma, we have to re-administer it every hour to get the effect. When someone is using it non-prescribed, they have to use it multiple times a day. Most of my patients tell me that when they were injecting 10 times a day. And that's because if they went more than that, if they went 2 to 3 hours between injection, they would develop withdrawal symptoms, which were very, very severe. So I just wanted to give you that sense of why people would need more needles than we would think are reasonable. Thank you. Oh, I also want to thank the whole council. You guys are doing a great job of trying to keep the community safe, the entire community. I really appreciate it.
Mayor Shalene and honorable members of the Lewiston City Council. My name is Julie O'Neill, and I am a concerned member of Maine's recovery community. Thank you for allowing me to share my story and emphasize the need for accessible harm reduction services. Next week, I will celebrate 5 years of recovery. Being in recovery has allowed me to give back to my community and build a life that is healthy, meaningful, and full of connection. However, I once suffered and lived in the depths of active addiction. The ordinance proposes to limit access to sterile syringes. Tonight, I want to highlight the importance of harm reduction by sharing the medical challenges I faced without access to sterile supplies. I was unhoused in Boston and depended on homeless shelters to get off the street at night. My addiction to opioids began at 15 when I was prescribed Vicodin by my doctor for pain. Back then, access to syringe service programs was limited. The closest one that I knew of was a bus and train ride away, and I was usually unable to afford bus fare. During this time, I shared syringes and contracted 2 cases of hepatitis C. My second case was acute, and I became aware of my condition shortly after exposure. I developed significant abdominal swelling and flu-like symptoms. I sincerely thank my mother for recognizing I was sick and for promptly taking me to the ED. I have completed the Harvoni treatment for Hep C twice, and I'm so grateful both courses successfully resolved the infection. My infectious disease doctor had to write a character letter for me and basically begged the insurance company to approve a second treatment. Not everyone is blessed with a second chance. As my addiction progressed, I was fortunate enough to have access to programs and staff that met me where I was at with sincere empathy and non-judgment. Visiting an SSP was not just about the exchange. The staff treated me like a human being in a world that often made me feel less than, shameful, and like an outcast. I vividly remember the time an SSP worker named Brian supported me with making the decision to go to treatment. September is Recovery Month and full of love and celebration, and I look forward to the Lewiston Rally. Please keep in mind that behind every person in recovery is a history of hardship they once had to overcome. I urge you to reject the elements of this ordinance that limit access to programs that can open the door to recovery. I am truly grateful for my life today. I'm a few classes away from receiving my MBA, and I'm a trusted member of my family and community. Jack, my 6-year-old nephew, looks up to me as a person he feels safe with, and he is truly my world. I appreciate the chance to share my experience and insights with you this evening. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Martin Chartrand. I'm a resident of Ward 4 at 183 East Avenue and a behavioral health professional working in and around Lewiston. I also have a background working with a syringe service program in Bangor, doing mobile outreach. I've been following this with concern, and I urge you to reject the provisions in this ordinance and start fresh with an ordinance that's going to partner with syringe service programs, not cause further hassle for them. This won't address syringe litter. I appreciate Councilor Harriman's comments about sharps boxes, and there are also models in Portland for a buyback program that is shown to be effective. Harm reduction programs actually do a lot of picking up of syringes. As far as I know, the entities that do the most of it. So I don't think that restricting to 1-for-1 is going to prevent litter, and it will cause less access to syringes, which will cause more infections. I'm also really concerned about the provisions preventing mobile distribution. This is often the only way to reach some clients, and that means that no matter how nice a location you have, it's that people are not going to access those clean syringes. And the zoning restrictions would push services out of the area where they're most needed. I think it's great that Spurwink's doing what they're doing, but I do believe that there's a lot of people unserved by that entity because of the distance from downtown. And I hadn't found it in the ordinance, but I understood this to be also a ban on future establishment of overdose prevention sites. And that causes me a lot of concern also, because these are programs that are shown to reduce public drug use, shown to reduce litter, and to increase recovery program use. And we should be supporting those. I urge you to focus on real solutions and focus on humanity and partnering with harm reduction programs rather than causing further hassle, causing restrictions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Nicole Sparlin, and I live in Ward 1. People need a lot of things to thrive, but two things that I think are essential are community and care. I believe that both of these needs can be effectively supported at organizations that provide harm reduction services. In 2018, I worked for a nonprofit organization that operated under a harm reduction model. Services included a syringe exchange, access to and training for how to provide naloxone, free HIV and hepatitis C testing, a food pantry, and an on-site clinic for basic health needs. This organization also provided a space for community where people could meet and find support and resources. I believe in harm reduction because harm reduction has proven efficacy, especially when paired with other public health infrastructure. Harm reduction meets people where they're at and provides them with essential services that should be easy for people to access. I don't believe that we should create barriers that make it harder for folks to access the services that they need, including access to syringes that help reduce the spread of HIV, especially when we have an ongoing outbreak in our state. Going back to a one-to-one exchange or enacting restrictive zoning are barriers. Regarding litter, there should be more sharps boxes installed around the city that are emptied according to need. Perhaps there should be a public health campaign to teach the public how to properly dispose of syringes and what to do when they encounter a used syringe in public. Personally, I pick up and safely dispose of syringes when I see them out because I care for my community. I think we all want to keep our community safe, but that shouldn't come at the expense of people who need harm reduction services. They're members of our community too, and they deserve safety. I urge you to listen to the healthcare providers and advocates who have come here tonight, and I urge you to vote in support of harm reduction services. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Ray, and I live in Ward 3. I'm here to oppose multiple parts of this ordinance. I think I have three areas I want to talk to you about. One is a reminder of something I know you've heard already, but I think it's so important to repeat again. One is some numbers, which is dangerous as an attorney to try to do some math for you. And hopefully the last thing is productive. So the Maine CDC has been clear that syringe service programs are, quote, crucial to reducing the risk of bloodborne infection, such as Hep B, Hep C, and HIV, and preventing outbreaks. The Maine CDC also issues practical guidance and annual reports, such as that detail SSP operations across the state, such as syringes that go out and come back to those services. Research shows that restricting syringe services make a problem worse, the discarded needle and needle litter problem. Instead of moving forward towards these restrictions that are noted in here, those that contradict state guidance and public health evidence, I urge you to look at the opioid settlement funds again. From what I could see online on the Attorney General's website, Lewiston has currently received just over $900,000, but has only allocated $1,877 of that towards syringe disposal boxes. To spend just 0.2% of the funding on a practical solution for needle litter and then just throw up your hands in favor of a non-evidence-based solution feels really hasty and ill-informed. I also found that as of May 4th, 2025, it was reported that Lewiston has only spent $286,000 of that $900,000 received to date, and that's less than 32% of the funding. Another $2 million is expected from those settlement funds, so now seems like a great time to make a strategic plan that uses all of the knowledge and wisdom that has come before you time and again for proven solutions instead of reactionary policies. Hopefully something productive. Section 22-497B5, it's the second to last page if you want to follow along. You do have a yearly review for renewal in here, but that's by the city clerk, and it's placing the onus on our lovely, wonderful city clerk. But it sounds like this is important enough that maybe it should be coming before the city council, because there's a lot of talk about the relationship with the city that these syringe service programs have. And you just did Graveyard Night, where you yearly look at those. It goes through fire, police. You get a chance to ask some questions of staff, have a public hearing. You could hear concerns, get it all on record. And so I would make the suggestion that maybe you take a look at that and make it work for your needs. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Olivia Pennington. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Community Engagement at Maine Family Planning, and I'm here on behalf of Maine Family Planning. Maine Family Planning is the largest network of sexual and reproductive health care providers in the state, with 18 brick-and-mortar health centers and 1 mobile medical unit. We provide a range of health services, including STI testing and treatment, HIV testing and prevention, cancer screenings, and in 3 of our locations, primary care. For 70% of our patients, we are the first and only healthcare provider that they'll see in a year. We treat patients regardless of their insurance status and regardless of their ability to pay. We are deeply concerned both about the one-to-one policy, but also about the restrictive location policies in this ordinance. As many of you know, we have a health center right here in Lewiston in Centerville Plaza. But we know that a myriad of factors, including stigma, transportation, fear of incarceration, reduces the ability of people who use drugs to access our brick and mortar health center. It's for that reason that last year, Maine Family Planning launched Health on Wheels, our mobile medical unit. We serve folks in Lewiston, Augusta, Waterville, and Bangor. Our MMU primarily serves people experiencing homelessness and people who use drugs. And let me say this clearly, access to harm reduction is a cornerstone of public health in the state of Maine. The most common service we provide on our mobile medical unit is wound care for people who use drugs. We have had patients report to us that if a one-to-one policy was imposed, they would be more likely to engage in high-risk injection behavior such as reuse and sharing. At Maine Family Planning, we're doing everything we can to ensure that all Mainers, including those experiencing homelessness and people who inject drugs, have access to high-quality, dignified health care. A one-to-one policy increases the likelihood that we will see more wound care patients, straining the already limited health care available to these folks. Many of our patients have reported that if they weren't able to access care on the MMU, they would likely end up in the emergency room or simply going without basic health care. Maine's hospital systems are already overwhelmed. We cannot risk placing further unnecessary strain on our hospitals. Additionally, at Maine Family Planning, we've been on the front lines of the HIV cluster in Penobscot County, and we fear that restrictive policies like this could lead to a spread of HIV and HCV into other districts. And finally, I want to remind you all that this spring, the Maine legislature voted against a one-to-one syringe exchange policy. I won't try to restate what's already been said, so let me leave you with the words of Republican Senator Marianne Moore from Washington County, who feared this policy could lead to an increase in HIV in her district. Limiting access to sterile syringes now will only make it harder to prevent, protect, and control the spread of disease in a county already under-resourced and overburdened. We all want clearer streets, safer communities, and less syringe litter. So let's focus and stay the course on evidence-based policies. We urge you to reject these policies.
Jay Zimmerman, Ward 5. I am a teacher, and through experience and education, I know that you can't punish a student into good behavior. You have to see behavior as a symptom and look behind it so you can learn how to support and teach your student so they learn for themselves how to make the right choices. Likewise, we can't punish our way into compliance with needle disposal. by restricting access to sterile syringes. For sustainable change, we need to treat the underlying condition, addiction. This is a long game, and it's true that it's not going to give us the satisfying instant gratification of less needle litter on our streets. But without Councillor Chittum's changes, this proposed ordinance won't do that either. We have no evidence that a one-to-one exchange will actually reduce needle litter, but we do have evidence that it would increase disease and death on our streets. That would be punishing people for their addiction and hoping that it causes them to make the right choices instead. That is both morally indefensible and hopelessly incorrect. If we pass an ordinance that empowers SSPs to do their jobs, to teach and support according to healthcare best practices, I am confident that we will see positive and long-lasting results in the form of fewer infectious disease cases, fewer deaths, more recovery, and yes, less needle litter over time. The proposed ordinance will not make this happen without Councillor Chittum's amendment and the removal of a one-to-one needle exchange restriction. Thank you.
Zoe Lidstrom, Ward 5. I want to repeat the words that I've heard some members of the council as well as the mayor state, that it's not actually the city's council's place to make decisions regarding public health. That is best left to public health experts like those in the room tonight and those who have been present at previous workshops on this issue. If we do want to tackle needle litter, which is a reasonable goal that I support, then we should do so directly and in a way that doesn't cause harm. What we shouldn't do is try to tackle that issue indirectly with an ordinance that restricts access to necessary and even life-saving medical services and increases the risk of transmission of bloodborne illnesses among the community at large, which is to say all of us, because as soon as the risk increases for one member of the population, it does increase for everyone. That's statistics. Achieving the goals of reducing needle litter and even public drug use can only be done in partnership with SSPs and not by preventing them from operating. And I am speaking about not just the proposed one-to-one exchange, but also the restrictions on the location and mobility of SSPs. We can definitely do better than this, and please vote no on this ordinance or make some real changes and amendments. Thank you.
Further public comment?
Good evening, councilors, Mr. Mayor. My name is Rosie Boyce.
I think you need to move the mic down so our
there we go.
audience
All right.
at home can hear
That's
you.
what I
Thank
did.
you.
All right, thank you. I said good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councilors. My name is Rosie Boyce. I serve as an interim board member at the Church of Safe Injection. But before that, I was the former community engagement coordinator and the lead trainer here in Androscoggin County. While I haven't been employed with COSI since November of 2024 due to state funding cuts, I am still and have always been a harm reductionist that cares deeply about this community and all of the people that call Lewiston home. I'm here tonight to speak to the importance of keeping harm reduction-based services both visible and easily accessible in our city. But first, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. I fully understand that when missteps happen, people want answers. But the real crisis before us isn't the imperfection of one program. It is the inhumane suffering we see on our streets every day. People without housing, people meeting their own needs in unsafe ways because safer options are being taken away. Families mourning the loss of their loved ones, lost to otherwise completely preventable deaths. In recent, most recently, the condemning of the PMM building needs to be addressed. The subsequent images that were leaked to the media painted a really awful picture. Those images should spark something inside you, inside all of you. They should break your heart. Knowing that our unhoused neighbors, your constituents, were so desperate for access to shelter and basic supplies that they sought shelter by breaking in through the basement of the PMM building, where COSI rented a small portion. They gained access to COSI spaces where they sifted through thousands of used syringes in search of what they needed to survive. If that does not make clear the level of suffering and unmet need in this city, then something is broken, not in them, but in all of us. This is not about one organization or one building. In fact, some of the squatting that was happening in a portion of the basement wasn't even in cozy space. The deeper truth is this, though, that people are living and dying in desperation. The response they need is an increase in services, not a decrease. Harm reduction is so much more than syringes. It's wound care, overdose prevention, HIV and hepatitis C prevention, and connection to housing and healthcare. When we provide harm reduction, we reduce disease, reduce improperly discarded syringes, and reduce death. What's more is that evidence shows, right here in Lewiston, that fatal overdoses have dropped 22% from 22 to 23, 27% from 23
That's
to 24.
time, thank you.
I only have a paragraph left.
That,
It's like,
no, that is time, thank you.
all right, thanks, Carl. All right.
Speakers who run over are free to send their comments to public comment at lewistonmaine.gov.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Lewiston City Council. My name is Julia Lester. I'm from Paris. I'm a community advocate in the Oxford Hills whose work in public service is rooted in what I've learned in the 8 years I've been a part of the addiction and recovery efforts in our community and around the state. Through a consortium of schools, law enforcement, medical providers, community members, local nonprofits, and neighbors that has worked for almost a decade, I've seen how communication and trust can make long-lasting positive change. I believe that sharing experiences and resources is a must to help us weather this opioid crisis. I'm here today to ask that the City of Lewiston be good neighbors to the Oxford Hills, to ask you to understand that the decisions you make here have a far greater impact than that of just Lewiston residents. I've had the privilege of speaking with several members of the council, have given members a tour of the Hills Recovery Center, provided information about the harms that restrictive policies such as this can have to our communities and resources, and we've provided resources to the Maine Opioid Settlement Support Center that assist in getting the resources and partners needed to help. Tonight we've talked a lot about trash and needles in parks, and I think we can agree that I wouldn't want trash in the park, on the streets, or where children can find them, and I'd want trash properly disposed of. Then the question remains, who cleans it up? When do they do it? How do they do it? What does one use to pick up the trash? Where are they doing it? And of course, the big question of why are we doing it? Pharmaceutical giants spent years contributing to the opioid crisis that has been and continues to be devastating to our families and communities, some of the ways in which are being discussed tonight. And they have been expressed through frustration, betrayal, and loss. The city has a sanitation department, and they also have funds available for this crisis. I implore you to understand that we are losing 1 to 2 Mainers every day to this crisis, that restrictive policies such as this prevent the community-driven, evidence-based practices that we and other communities around the state have found so instrumental at curbing the devastating toll we have endured for far too long. Thank you for your consideration. Time.
Good evening. My name is Ann Seitz. I'm with Maine CDC and the Infectious Disease Prevention Program, and I reside in Leeds. I'm here to just read brief segments of a letter that I've submitted to the council that is from Dr. Va. First, Maine CDC urges the council to carefully examine the evidence supporting each of the amendments that you're considering in this ordinance, and to consider both the potential benefits and the possible unintended harm before moving forward. We have included responses to 7 policy items offered within the prepared ordinance. First, for syringe distribution, each participant of an SSP has different needs, and 20 syringes may not be enough to ensure that the participants are using a new sterile syringe each time they inject Restricting access to sterile syringes has been linked to poor community health outcomes, increased likelihood of syringe reuse and sharing, and then significant risk of transmitting infectious diseases such as HIV and hepatitis C, leading to serious complications like abscesses, endocarditis, and other injection-related infections. Limiting syringe distribution harms individuals who inject drugs and does not necessarily lead to less syringe waste. There are alternatives to address syringe waste without compromising health. Second, zoning districts for SSP operations. Maine CDC supports the City of Lewiston collaborating with your local SSPs so that they may ensure coverage across high-need areas while respecting the interests of community members to maintain a buffer around certain areas such as schools. Third, mobile exchange services. Maine CDC supports ongoing accessibility within a dynamic community, and one method of achieving that goal is to permit certified SSPs to provide mobile exchange services. 4, limiting service providers. Limiting the number of service providers will likely limit the ability of providers to nimbly respond to the needs of the community in Lewiston. Removing the restriction of 2 service providers could provide greater flexibility and enable the community to adapt to future needs, particularly if 2 SSPs are unable to provide the full spectrum of SSP coverage required to reduce harm in this area. I'll go on to just cover certification of criteria for the city approval of SSPs. The prepared ordinance proposes SSP certification by Maine CDC. However, Maine CDC partially relies on SSP's compliance with local rules and regulations, and is in favor of, so we want to make sure SSPs are following the local rules and regulations.
That's time, thank you.
That's time. Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. My name is Kirsten Walter. I'm the executive director of Gather to Grow, previously the St. Mary's Nutrition Center, located across the park at 208 Bates Street. And I want to voice support for the many people who have spoken against the one-for-one exchange and for the many best practices and harm reduction strategies. These voices have great depth and expertise in public health and the deep wisdom that comes from lived experience. I am bringing my experience of working in downtown Lewiston for over 25 years as a long-term partner with the city and with residents. And through our gardens, our school programs, our food access programs, our pantry, starting the farmers market, all of those strategies, we engage in that work as a reflection of how deeply we care about this community. And that goes beyond our mission of our food access work. It is about supporting our community in thriving and being healthy and making sure people have what they need to be able to fully participate as community members. Being located downtown in our building and our gardens, we understand the very real concerns of the litter and the safety concerns when it comes to used syringes that are, can be found pretty much anywhere. We do daily sweeps of our property. We've had more than one staff poked, even using kind of safe gloves. We've had a child step on a needle. We know those concerns intimately, but we know that the strategies to impact and address those broader public safety concerns for residents who want to use parks and public spaces and gardens come from the recommendations that we've heard from these experts. In particular, I appreciate the conversation within council around thinking about using funding for more sharps containers and other ways. We've had many people who are dealing with substance use disorder offer to clean up other needles on our property and use our sharps container. We have regularly counted on SSP partners to dispose of those sharps in our containers. We don't have a way of getting rid of them ourselves. To help do those kinds of cleanups on high traffic areas and to provide the expertise as well as the entry points for people who want help. And so we need to count on their expertise, and limiting where they're located, when they operate, how many there are, limiting them to a one-to-one exchange, which has definitely been talked about a lot tonight, that is not going to address the other broader safety concerns that people have spoken to mostly tonight and against thinking about who is being impacted. So we just want council to please listen to all these other voices.
Good evening, Mayor Shalin, members of the council. I'm Gordon Smith. I'm State's Director of Opioid Response in Governor Mills' office. It's a pleasure to be back with you. I want to be very, very brief. First, I want to thank you for all the time you've committed to this issue. You're trying hard to do the right thing, to balance the interests of the businesses, of the citizens, and of people who need care, and I really am appreciative of that, which is why I'm down here for the third or fourth time. I would urge you I want to address the one-to-one. I also think it's problematical to limit the services to 2. It should be about the quality of the programs, not how many you have, and if a third one appeared that was really exceptional, I don't see what benefit it is to put in a limit. Ultimately, you get to decide whether you're going to have them in the community or not. I urge you on the one-to-one to stay the course under the state law, which is, as you know, has a cap of 100. And I wanted to remind you of that you've chosen 20 for just the open and, the new enrollee. Dr. Vinsel, I think, has addressed exceptionally well for the second time, why that's really not sufficient from a public health standpoint. I want you to know that I was intimately involved in how we arrived at 100, and that itself was a compromise. The actual public health authorities in the world now, and at the federal CDC, recommend a needs-based exchange, no limit. Some legislators and the governor were not comfortable with that in around 2021, whenever we changed the law and then changed the rule. So 100 is a limit, and many of our exchanges don't operate at 100. Sometimes it's a matter of supply. I know of one that continues a one-to-one exchange. I know one that does up to 50. And then there are some that do the cap at 100. So I would urge you to stay the course. Our overdoses are down. As of last Sunday, they were down again this year, about 22% from 1 year ago, which was also a decrease from the previous year, which was a decrease from the previous year. We are probably down nearly 40% from the high point in 2022. I would argue that our things are working. And our comprehensive strategic plan has always been based on the 4 pillars of prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery support. Stay the course. I think it's working, and I appreciate all your time that you've committed to this issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Shalin. Catherine Ryder, Senior Director of Strategic Initiatives for Spurwink, formerly CEO at Tri-County Mental Health Services. And the reason I reference that is because 6 years ago, Tri-County stood up the first SSP in the Lewiston community. And in that 6 years, we have never had a complaint from anybody in the community. So I want to hark back to something that Ronnie said. And Ronnie and I are colleagues. We served 2 years, I believe, on the Lewiston Auburn Public Health Committee together. And she was there when we started our SSP with a Maine Health Access Foundation grant. And we are deeply committed to the broader concepts of harm reduction, which you've heard about repeatedly tonight. And I'm not going to reiterate the evidence, but what I would like to reiterate is something that I have mentioned to you at 2 previous meetings when I stood before you, and that is that we have actually seen a significant reduction in overdose deaths in the community of Lewiston, and I firmly believe that that is a direct result of the work we have done in harm reduction here. So Spurwink stands ready and willing to work collaboratively let me try that again, collaboratively with you and with any other SSP provider that might come into the community to meet the needs of the safety of the community, but also to meet the needs of those who rely on us at the most critical points in their lives. And you have heard from Ernestine, and she will be back up here in just a moment to speak to you again about the work we do that is much broader than distributing syringes. I also heard someone talking about people being out on the streets. We now have 15 staff that are walking the streets, riding along with law enforcement, EMS, fire and rescue on a daily basis, going out into the community to respond to people in need, whether that be that they are unhoused, whether they're struggling with mental health or with substance use addiction. And again, I want to say we are committed to being a part of the solution. We have reviewed the Good Neighbor policy. We're prepared to respond to that. And we are very interested in seeing other potential providers come into the community and working collaboratively with them as well. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Ernestine Peralt, and I'm the supervisor for community outreach programs at Spurwink. One of those programs happens to be our harm reduction clinic. I wanted to speak to just reiterate that the current condition that we have, that we can operate our SSP, being able to be flexible of giving up to 100 syringes for a new client, is important because we're allowed to customize to each individual that comes into our clinic. It allows us to be able to talk with them very candidly about what their use is and what their needs are. And we are able to customize what the amount of needles that they need as a new client back to them. That's under our current rules and regulations through the CDC. And if we were given the restriction of a one-to-one, then we would not be able to provide, obviously, any clean syringes for a new client. In the last 3 months, we've had almost 200 people that are brand new to our clinic come to our clinic. If you do the math, that's a lot of folks that would be walking out and not being able to have clean syringes at their immediate disposal and be able to be supported. And so, that's a big number, particularly for the city of Lewiston, for new clients to be coming through our clinic in the last 3 months. And I think it's important to kind of understand that each of those people have people that also care for them and that are supporting them. And it's important, I think, to also kind of note that under a strict one-to-one restriction, if someone came into my clinic with 1,000 needles, I would be able to give them 1,000 needles back. That's not what we want to do. That we want to be able to customize and not be just led by a restriction that says that is what I'm allowed to do and able to do. And it also increases the opportunity for people to be victims of crime. We have had many people come in to say that they have not been able to bring clean syringes in because there's sort of a level of competition out there and getting as many syringes that they can so they can come in and get more than what they need. And that's my concern if we go with a one-to-one restriction. Thank you.
My name's Melissa Dunn. I'm a community organizer. I live in Lewiston's downtown. I will be honest, I'm scared to speak this evening because I've experienced harassment and physical assault on this very issue by power holders. And what I'm concerned about, certain ones, what I'm concerned about is a dead stalling or stonewalling to create or manufacture conditions that compromise the health, safety, and well-being of not just people who use substances, but people, but community. And I'm mostly concerned about the barriers, whether it's on the outskirts or the one-to-one exchange. Harm reduction is preparedness. And it's great to hear that the numbers are lowered for people who have maybe been impacted by overdose, and that harm reduction efforts are working now. under the current times that we're under, but I do worry because of the times that we're under that it might be actually pushing people to substance use, and so we need these programs. I also worry about the conflating of messaging when people are talking about the one-to-one program in regards to harm reduction, because we're beyond a public health epidemic, and not only for communicable diseases, but infection that people can get from dirty needles or things like that. When I think about organizations and SSPs, is that it's beneficial to have different organizations doing the work, because some organizations might be more institutional based. They might do peer support, but they would require, per the state, more credentials, more degrees. Community-based organizations are more peer support centered. They're boots to the ground. They're showing up to people in literal life crisis in the moment or after. And each holds and adds value in prevention and recovery efforts, and also lessens barriers. I was glad to hear this evening, because to my point, harm reduction is reproductive justice, it's community health, and it's truly meeting people where they're at. We center people who use substances to cope to survive because they're impacted, because their plights often co-occurring, which includes mental health and trauma. And I think that's most important for people to know and understand. Thank you.
Further public comment? Yes.
Matthew Egrin, Ward 4. So, the one-to-one, it was stated, something I was hoping someone else would bring up. Theoretically, you could get 1,000 needles if you bring in 1,000. Probably not a good idea, but it's there. Also, in the current ordinance as written, you can get 20 needles if you're a new client. If you don't have any, if you've never been there, it's in the ordinance, you're allowed 20 needles. It isn't in the one that Councilor Chinham produced for tonight, which I really don't think we should be looking at something like that if it's not in our packet ahead of time on Thursday. That being said, how many SSPs has the CDC set up within every community in Maine? I didn't find some in Farmington when I looked. Maybe I'm not finding them. We had someone here who's from Oxford who talked about how our response here affects them. Why is there not one in Norway? This is not saying that this is not important, because nobody wants to keep people from getting help for their addiction, because, let's be honest, kicking your addictions, no matter what they are not easy. And we have people who will fail multiple times because they just can't do it. Rest in peace, Bill. But we are now looking at how do we handle this. The CDC said they have no problem with us putting down our own rules for them to follow. What is the number? Councilor Gallant suggested 10 a day. I actually read through it and I didn't see that if I use 10 needles in a day, I can't go back to that same exchange and get 10 more needles. Maybe I didn't read it correctly. Hopefully someone can tell me I'm wrong. 25 on the weekend. That means you start Monday with 25 new needles if you used them all on the weekend. But none of this is going to solve the needle problem on the ground. But that's not where we are. We're looking at whether or not we keep one-to-one or unlimited number of needles. So with that, let's go back to the next.
Further public comments? Public comment is now closed. I appreciate you all being here and thank you for speaking. And back to you, Councilor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. What I was going to say earlier is some of us tend to forget that people can go to Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Hannaford, Shaw's, and get needles anytime they want to, if they have money, but they're available in the community. And I don't profess that to happen, but I believe a lot of needles we see out here in the street are probably come from the people who supply the drugs. That they're giving needles to people so that they will use and attempt to get them hooked into that process, which is something we can't even control or fathom how to do so because people using drugs won't tell us who gives them the drugs. It's kind of a sad, sad situation. And, you know, I still go back to the new client, 100. If the purpose of harm reduction is contact, if you give me 100 needles today, and I'm using fentanyl, and I do it 10 times a day, you might see me in 10 days. You might see me in 3 weeks. But if you give me 10 today and I use 10, you're probably going to see me tomorrow. And you're going to see me the next day, and the next day. And maybe one of those next days will be the time that you realize, I need help. I need to work on something. To me, it's better than just nothing at this point. I appreciate the state of Maine being here, but let's be conscious to what was said earlier. These rules didn't change till we had COVID. It was a convenience via COVID to give them 100 a day. Prior to that, that was not the rule. You go back to 8 years, those weren't the rules that were out there. I just Googled it, so I know it's the case in that particular process. So it was a COVID convenience because we didn't want contact with people because of COVID. And I understand that too. I think recircling back around is probably good to do and to look at. I still believe that we need to support them. I believe we need to give them needles. I don't like the 1-for-1 in the sense of the word of 1,000 needles. Okay, I think there should be a limit. For me, in my mind, simple as it may be, and statistically that I looked at, and using fentanyl being the major drug really we're having issues with, 10 times a day was about the average nationwide. I came up with 10 because of that. And we know that the services aren't offered on Saturday and Sunday. So they have an option of leaving a box out there and people can take what they want, or you give them a limited amount on Friday, so they're back on Monday again and getting that contact, getting that response from somebody else. So that's kind of where my numbers came from, for those that might be interested in that particular purpose. I understand where my fellow council Mike is coming from. There is no really good number, you know. I've researched the Portland buyback. I've heard that 2 or 3 different times. And then someone come up and said, people are stealing needles from people. That's what's happening in Portland. The bottom line is if you check out with people in Portland, they're going to tell you a lot of people are coming in with no needles, who need needles, because people are taking them from them. So they get needles, get money to buy drugs, and do it all over again. So I'm not saying a buyback's not a good idea either. I wrote it down. I would support a buyback. Anything to try to get the stuff off the ground and keep our citizens safe as we can possibly keep them. You know, that's part of the deal. I believe opioid funds, that sounds like a big number. I'll be asking people, our city administrator, exactly what our balance is. You know, I think that should be something looked into for cleanup purposes. If we can't do it as a city, it's hire somebody and get going around. That's what money was designed for. But we need to do something. We've worked on this for a long time, and I don't want to push it down the road to not getting anything accomplished. And I don't think that this is perfect. I think it's a starting point. And we appreciate all the professionals, all the great minds that are out here. And we hope that if it doesn't work in 3 months or 4 months, that you come back and say, give us ideas, okay? We see positive here, we see negative here. Can we do something with that? We want to work with you all. That's why it's taken this long. If we just wanted to rubber stamp it and send it out the door, it ought to be out there on the street. So we do greatly appreciate everyone who spoke. You know, it's dear to my heart. And yes, this coming Saturday, here in the park, we are gonna have an event that just, for this purpose, right? Rally for Recovery is gonna be here Saturday. And there'll probably be 20 or 25 different people out here, organizations who are offering support to the people we're talking about right now. And those who've worked that, like myself, I will tell you, all the people on the outskirts are the ones we have to talk to. They don't come in. Those are the ones we want to talk to. So that's why I support the numbers I produced. That's what I would support in this process. Thank you.
Councillor Najin.
So just really quickly, I just want to point out a few things. We're dealing with a lot of traumas here. This is trauma to our community that we see every single day. There's a lot of behavioral health issues that we don't know how to deal with, that we're challenged with. And we need community partners that are willing to work with us, including in the spaces that are associated with SSPs. SSPs in and of themselves are partnered with other products, if they're, or excuse me, not products, philosophies and plans in order to actually benefit the community. So when Spurwink speaks of the challenges that they dealing with their clientele, it's true. I trust Spurwink. I trust Spurwink as a partner in our community. I know that they care about the city, and I know that they care about the people that they're taking care of. And so it's hard for me to say, I don't support a many for one model, but again, we just went through a situation where I think some of the failures, and I'm just going to name it. Mr. Smith, you had said, quality of operations. Absolutely. How do we verify that? How do we make sure that's true as a city? We really can't unless we have good partners. We have partnerships with the organizations that are running. We're not licensing a business. It's actually a community service that is supposed to tie in the people that we're supposed to be caring for into the community that they come from. Ms. Seitz, you mentioned that you depend on municipalities in order to make sure that the SSPs are working. That's kind of what we're trying to do. And so, I just wanted to name these pieces. I would support a many for one model, provided that we put a moratorium on any new licensing for the next 6 months. That I would agree with. I think that we could work towards determining whether or not Spurwink has the capability to handle the needs of our community. I don't think, when I look at the Portland model, there are 2 SSPs. Portland's twice our size. And so, I would be comfortable saying I trust Spurwink as a partner in our community to care for these people who need help, and also to care for the community at large. But I'm not comfortable saying, let's go to a one-for-one model and anybody can come and apply for that other license. And I know that, yes, we approved that license, but I would also like to point out that if we have no reason to deny that license, we have to give that license.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at.
Councillor Longchamps.
Yes. First, I really just look forward to more resources and people really recovering from this terrible, terrible addiction and disease that we're seeing so many people suffer from. I just want to share that, we're talking a lot about dirty needles, but clean needles kill too. And what I mean by that is the clean needles that are given or bought are fentanyl is being, put into the needle and then going into someone's body. I had 12 people die in the past 5 years. 12 people that used a clean needle that died from an overdose. A needle that was given to them, I think, from organizations that really meant well, but it wasn't good. I don't know if you can see this picture, but I'd like to share it. It's a dear friend of mine. He almost lost his life from using a clean needle, but when he injected in a place that he probably shouldn't have and was on life support. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is his leg. So I just look forward to the time that no one's suffering from this anymore. I do want to thank the CDC for pulling the license from one of the SSPs that that was in the past, recent past, in my opinion, causing harm to our community. I do want to clarify that there was someone here by the name of Rosie, I apologize, I don't know her last name, and she stated that that building was being rented, a very small portion, and that's actually not factual. They were in the process of purchasing that building. So it was occupied by them and them alone. Again, I'm really frustrated and upset because they caused harm to the community. No one can tell me different. I know the people that were going in to that particular SSP organization and leaving there not better. That's not the goal. I don't know if 1-for-1 is exactly what we need. I'm not 100% sold on it completely, but I do think it's a start. I think Lewiston has, I think since the beginning of handing out needles, Lewiston has been affected negatively. That's my opinion. I do think we need an ordinance. Is it perfect right now? No, but I think it's a start. I just want to make sure that I think really what I just wanted to share was that clean needles are also harming people. And no one seems to talk about that. So I would like to stick to the 1-to-1 for now and see where that goes. Thank you.
Councillor Harriman.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who spoke. I really appreciate everyone taking the time. It seems to me that litter is really the thing that has been driving this ordinance here. And I just want to put in another plug for the city really doing something to pick up and to provide more opportunities for people to discard needles safely. Based on the numbers that I have, I believe we have, at the beginning of this fiscal year, which was July 1st, we had over $300,000 in opioid settlement funds that had not yet been committed for this fiscal year. We have more than that, but much of it has been committed to other things, and I just think we need to really take syringe litter seriously and do proactive checks of places. If we have places that we know are problems, we need to put sharps boxes there. The area that I mentioned earlier that I clean up every week, I have asked admin, I believe it's 4 times now over the last several weeks, haven't even got a response. The neighbors there have been complaining that they are finding sharps on their lawn. They had to contact the police to pick one up the other day. If people just had a place to dispose of them, I think that would be a good start. I really appreciate everyone for speaking. I just think that we're taking sort of the wrong approach if we want to address litter. There's not really any evidence that restricting the number of clean needles that are distributed affects how many are discarded on the ground. There's just no evidence for that. So again, I just want to put in another plug for addressing syringe litter productively and based on evidence.
Councillor Sol.
Okay. I have a lot of notes that are scattered all over the place. I'm going to try. But first, I'd like to start by Councillor Harriman. You keep saying that this isn't about that this isn't addressing the needle litter. I understand that this isn't the answer for needle litter, but like everyone is saying, it's a start, and this is so much more than just needle litter. This is a really serious program, and it needs some serious guidelines. And I know that people keep making comments that the city shouldn't be coming into other businesses and telling them how to run their business. But when their business is spilling out onto our streets and causing the destruction that it did, then it is our responsibility. So I just wanted to make that clear. Spurwink, I fully support them. I toured their facility on Wednesday, and I met with some of the employees, and I was extremely happy with everything that I saw. I would be more than happy to support funds for Spurwink to replenish for the increase of clients that they're receiving. I think that would be a great idea. I also keep hearing that ODs are down. I'm not so sure that ODs are down because of a 1 for 100. I think it's the Narcan, which is fantastic, and I'm happy that you can provide that, but I don't want to confuse people thinking that this needle exchange program is responsible for less ODs. They're just responsible for less deaths in the ODs. I think the ODs are still happening. And again, I've never had a drug addiction. I've never been through it. I've certainly seen it. I've seen it with many, many friends, many family members. I've lost a lot of them. So where was their harm reduction? My granddaughter was born addicted. Where was her harm reduction? There just has to be some accountability for the user. I feel like all the responsibility and all the accountability is being put on the residents of Lewiston, and that's just not right. I'm hearing a lot of, we need more needles, we need more sharps containers. We need more accountability is what we need. And I understand that it's not always an option for a drug user to just go through rehab and go into recovery. I understand it's not that simple, but we have to try. And right now I feel like everybody has just kind of thrown their hands up and said, well, they're going to use them, so let's just make it safe. And in actuality, there's nothing safe about it. So, yes, I strongly support 1 for 1, not taking anything away, still providing, just with a limit. And I would support Councilor Glant's proposal. So that's my speech.
If members of the audience could please refrain from speaking, that would be great. Thank you. Councilor Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to thank everybody who got up and spoke. Me not wanting to speak in public a whole lot, I appreciate you getting up there and taking that time. I got a couple of questions. First question is have we as a city sat down with maybe Spurwink or other providers to kind of fine-tune this ordinance before we vote on this? That's one thing that I tried to do in the last session when we really got all together, was to have the city sit down with, Spurwink and like the CDC and all that stuff to try to draft something that is good for everybody. Another thing too is I know the city, we've tried to take the opiate money and spread it around as much as possible for addiction services throughout the city. I think right now, at this time, maybe we should reconsider spreading it around, but taking some of that to address some of the litter. I think that would be appropriate now. And then once we have a program that addresses the litter and we start seeing things, subside a little bit, then go back to spreading it around, because we do need those services a lot. But I would like to see that. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a messy process, isn't it? And we're just getting started. I'll remind everybody that the motion on the floor is to remove references to one-to-one exchange in the ordinance. I'd like to focus on that. My closing comment is I believe that we ought to let the professionals who are on the front lines of this program, of this problem, make their decisions. I do not believe that we, even with all the expert testimony we've had, have the wherewithal, the experience, the knowledge, and the training to dictate how needle exchange programs are going to operate. That's it in a nutshell. I'm adamantly opposed to handcuffing providers who are trying to provide a service to those people most in need of it.
Can we move the question?
We have a motion to move the question. Do we have a second? Second by Councillor Chittum. Madam Clerk, please call that vote.
Counselor
Wait, so what is
from
it?
Ward 2,
Oh, yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6.
Yes.
Ward 7.
Yes.
Ward 1.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0. So the motion before you is to remove all references to the one-to-one exchange in the draft ordinance.
Thank you. Yeah, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2,
No.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
No.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Ward 7,
No.
Ward 1.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 4-3.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Further general comments from councilors or further amendments? Councilor Harriman, yes.
So there are several other large pieces that I think need to be addressed, including the, maybe the zoning is one thing that we might want to take up next. I don't know if anyone needs a brief recess first, but,
That's starting to be my job here. Does anyone, thank you, Councilor Harriman, for that suggestion. Does the council want to take a brief recess before we continue?
No.
Councilor Najin, did you have thoughts?
I just think that we could possibly focus on moving through some of these amendment pieces quickly, and if we get bogged down, maybe we take a break then. That's just my opinion.
I think we've been bogged down, but yes.
Right, well, at this point now, we can move through the amendment pieces.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess, are we okay to proceed, or do we, and it looks like we're proceeding. Councilor Harriman, please continue.
yes, I guess I don't know if Director Connor, if you have that map that was provided, the zoning map that was provided earlier. I just think that we need to, the way that the zoning is currently written, it would allow the one SSP that we have remaining in town to still operate, but they are somewhat removed from the downtown, which seems to be where a lot of the need is. The zoning restrictions, which we'll see in a minute here, they really push everything to the outer arterials, so outer Lisbon Street, outer Sabatis Street, outer Main Street, with the few parcels in other areas. And I just think we need to take a look at that. The conversation could also include mobile units, because I think if we were to keep this zoning, but allow mobile units, that could really address the issue. But if we're going to prohibit mobile units and prohibit SSPs from so much of the city, I think that would be really problematic for access and for contact of individuals needing their services.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, 1 second, councilors. Madam Clerk, are we okay? I believe we are. Okay, Director Connor, what did you have?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, if I may, this new map, I believe the first map that you all saw had large amounts of red. I want to thank Councilor Chittum for reaching out to Jim Ward, our GIS manager, asking for this updated map. So this updated map, a little clearer, a little easier to read, shows the exact parcels in blue that, according to this draft ordinance, would be an allowable lot for the SSP to operate. All of the fuchsia colors, if you will, are either schools or daycare centers that would prohibit the use, the location. I would like to go back really quickly to what Councilor Harriman was talking about in regard to the mobile exchanges. We've had lengthy conversations with the city attorneys, the clerk's office and myself, and we came to the conclusion that based after one of our more recent workshops with you guys, and as well as the planning board, that the nuances around a mobile exchange are so layered and they're so vast that we chose to stick with a brick and mortar ordinance first, with the full intentions of coming back to you guys for a workshop to really flesh out what you would like to see, if you would like to see mobile exchange providers, and do an amendment to this or an additional article, if you will. So that's why this ordinance states that it's not authorized until the follow-up ordinance to authorize it. So just wanted to speak to that, Councilor Harriman.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you would like to have that be a separate conversation. And
correct. A different
okay.
ordinance altogether. Correct.
Okay, and understood. Councilor Herman, did you have anything further?
I'm all set for now. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Director Connor, for our plate is already full enough with this ordinance. To take away the mobile aspects and address it later on is a blessing, so thank you for that. On the zoning, and thank you, Councilor Harriman, there are at least two areas that address specifically zoning, one of which specifies the parcels that are further than 500 feet from certain activities and within certain zones. The question I asked earlier in a workshop, has the planning board weighed in on this? Where did the decision to limit SSPs to these 4 or 5 zones originate?
So the genesis of these particular zones came from discussions with internally to the department. We tried to take everything that we had talked about through different workshops, and the language that we were hearing was, predominantly we wanted to keep it out of the downtown business district. We wanted to keep it out of any residential areas. When we take all of that in aggregate, we had to come up with a starting point. We had to come up with something. This was what we came up with. We brought it to the planning board. Several board members had some comments, but the majority of the board said the map that we provided them, they were okay with. They were in favor of just recommending that to the council, knowing that the council, it's a licensing ordinance. There were members that did not want any restrictions. There were members that wanted it more restrictive. So it's much like the council, but overall they supported and recommended that we move forward with the map that was presented to them, which was the red map that I had showed you guys at the previous workshop, which is the inverse of this, if you will, in color code.
Okay, thank you. The other zoning aspect of it relates, I think, to the good neighbor policy, and that calls for a radius around every SSP of 1,320 feet, a quarter mile. And it stipulates that the operations plan and the good neighbor policy to be adopted by licensees extends to that boundary. I wonder why that boundary can't extend to the limits of the city. If a patron, and I forget the language, the specific word, a consumer, a participant in a needle exchange program is in that program, would it be unreasonable to expect that program to have the expectation that abhorrent behaviors, which are outlined here, apply throughout the entire city? Why would it be appropriate for a customer to go 1,322 feet away and exhibit behaviors that are restricted within the, quote, good neighbor policy? So I'm advocating that this policy extend to all patrons citywide.
Great question. We obviously pulled it from the ordinance for the homeless shelter. We used that same number. In speaking with the attorneys that helped us draft this version of it, we believe that it would be easier for the operator, if you will, to have some level of control as close to as possible to that actual organization, rather than requiring them to hold people accountable throughout the entire city. Keep it as close to home as possible. That was the argument. But if the council wants to require it throughout the entire city, that obviously is their prerogative, and I don't think that it would be a problem. But again, that's asking, you know, a provider or all providers to mitigate and be responsible for the entire city. And if we have multiples, would they not, you know, if you have multiple providers, how would they know which participant is theirs across the city?
If we had multiple providers that were within 1,000 feet of one another, that the same problem would exist. And I don't believe that we're asking the SSPs to enforce this good neighbor policy, merely to provide consequences for a failure to accept it. So in the extreme, a patron of a SSP goes well beyond the 1,300 feet away from the facility, the premises, does something that is not good neighbor policy, is called upon it, a resident calls the police, and the police notify the SSP, and the SSP said, we have a report that you were out on Old Green Road, and you were doing things that we don't believe that we specify are not in our good neighbor policy. This is your first warning. I mean, that would be up to the individual policy, but I don't see why this can't apply citywide.
Okay.
And I, in the spirit of moving this along, I'm going to make an amendment that this good neighbor policy apply not only to areas within 1,320 feet of the premises, but within the entire boundary of the city.
Do we have a second for that? It appears that there is not consensus on that, Councillor Chittum. Okay, Councillor Najin.
So first, I think it's difficult to verify from a law enforcement or a municipal perspective whether or not somebody's even in one of these programs, right? There's like HIPAA protections, there's all these pieces. Folks who publicly use drugs or have issues with behavioral health aren't necessarily all going to SSPs. That's definitely the case with some of the public drug use we saw around the Park Street location. I'm fine with the zoning pieces. I think it's fine to start there. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about residential neighborhoods being excluded and a portion of the downtown. I think folks need to really understand where some of our unhomed population actually is in the community, and then also connect that to how people get around. I mean, I've been beaten to my house by somebody on a bicycle from St. Mary's, and I live on Riverside Street. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I'm happy with where the zoning sits now. I don't really have any complaints about it. I think there's plenty of opportunity to put an SSP, a brick and mortar SSP, somewhere in the city. And as we've talked about over and over again, meeting people where they're at is the most important aspect of running a healthy program. And so I would imagine if you have outreach workers, if you have people going to people's houses, just like a public health nurse, that's something that we would want to encourage as opposed to discourage.
Director Connor, are you, just for, so the blue is where they're allowed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you put the map, can you zoom in on downtown for me? Maybe zoom out just a little bit.
There's your downtown area right there.
So I agree that we cannot, there's certain, our busy corridor streets are not conducive to having an SSP, absolutely. But I find it problematic where I at least expect a lot of people who use substances live. Like there's nothing, we could not have something downtown. So if we're talking about like meeting people where that and offering something within walking distance, I think the zoning could be a slight bit too restrictive. And I'd also like to remind the council that we are, locations and providers are, where they're located and who gets licensed is completely within our control. Councillor Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm looking at the white. The white is off limits too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Those are the zones.
Okay.
All other zones.
So I want to make sure with that. So my concern here, I share the concern of a few other people up here. If you push this out of a zone where people utilize services, you're pushing them to use unclean needles, and things are just going to go away from there. Especially, I know we're not talking about mobile units right now, but those are going to be imperative. I mean, we really need to think about those. But I'm not in favor of pushing them outside of. I mean, even if you take a little dot somewhere and make that okay for services in town, I think we're just pushing everything away, and we can't do that. I think that's counterproductive.
Councillor Longchamps.
Yes. I do believe we do have an SSP here in downtown currently, right? On Lisbon Street? So it's just Spurwink up on Outer Lisbon?
Yeah.
Family planning, there wasn't something over here?
No.
No, so currently, we had
Can
the
you
one.
speak into the mic?
Yes, we had the one on Main Street, huge fail. We had the one up on Lisbon Street, right?
That's
That people go to. Can you bring that map back up?
Which-
Not this one, the one you were looking at a moment ago.
Yes, the downtown area?
Yeah.
Okay.
It showed Sabatis Street.
Yep, over here.
Somewhere here. So Sabatis Street, which is over near Lafayette, which is about a distance that you just explained on the bike run, right? So that's pretty local, I think. I think it is. That's my opinion. So.
If audience members could please refrain from speaking, thank you.
Sabatis Street.
Would you like me to zoom out, Councilor Longchamps,
Yes,
to
please.
get kind of the whole city?
So Sabatis Street, I mean, there's quite a bit of blue right there, too. The only thing we're not really showing is having anything right here locally. Do we have a lot of people that go to the one up on, I'm assuming we do, but I'm just looking for maybe a number from someone that works up at Spurwink on Lisbon Street? Could you, how many?
200 new clients since.
200 new clients. So they're getting there.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm in favor of keeping the map the way it is. I think I'd like to keep it the way it is. And, I mean, Sabatis Street, you can walk up Lisbon Street, you could ride your bike. I'd like to keep it the way it is. Thank you.
Councillor Harriman.
Thank you. Just a couple items. Some people are not able to walk or bicycle places. There are many different overlapping healthcare needs that people often have. Another issue, I guess a question for Director Connor. So if we prohibit mobile units, that would mean that someone who is an outreach worker or going to someone's house would not be able to provide SSP services.
Exchange. So, the things that Spurwink had talked about, they have 15 employees out riding around and whatnot. Obviously it's up to the council, but I don't see that as the actual exchange taking place. So all of the other outreach services that they provided would not be prohibited, but it would just be the actual exchange of.
Okay. So they could go meet someone where they are or at their house or wherever they are staying, but they wouldn't be able to provide the exchange services. That person would have to go to the physical location.
Correct, according to this ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Najin.
one of the things that just dawned on me is, so if you look at the New Hampshire model, the SSPs often they're tied into the New Hampshire public health system. And so within hospital systems, they often offer SSP services. And so I'm thinking about like the B Street Center. I'm thinking about places that are already public health and outreach. I don't know if that, like, because we're basing it on zoning as opposed to use, if that really works. But like, it would be good, I think, if we could have SSPs exist in places where there's already a community health or public health outreach. And so that's just like one thought other than the map. Like, I'm fine with the map as it is, but saying, you know, again, like, you know, B Street Center, you know, places like that, either of the hospitals, so.
Now, mind you, this ordinance is governing those that are certified by the Maine CDC. So if they're doing some sort of medical exchange, that this ordinance will not govern them. So the hospitals, if that's already part of their medical practice, this will not govern them. This is only those that are providing a needle exchange service that is licensed by the Maine CDC.
Understood. I'm just thinking about like the footprint,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Councilor Najin, just for clarification, you're saying like an SSP could like rent a suite or space from like B Street?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was picturing in my mind, is that you would either have partnerships with, you know, like let's say CMMC, or you would have space that was being rented. You know, if it's within a hospital zone or a hospital outreach, like it just seems like it matches and makes sense, you know.
Councilor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. And that's the direction I was going to go in. I mean, we currently have one licensed SSP, but maybe we need to reach out to St. Mary's, maybe to see and say, would you all be interested in doing something like this, meeting the guidelines that the state wants, and then they could provide the service and give us our in-town location, in a location that's already being servicing those needy people without having to be in a neighborhood per se. So I think that maybe something as a city, it might be worthwhile to reach out to and see if they're interested or that possibility exists there. My guess is liability. My guess is that they haven't done it to this point. It's just an additional liability and work for them, and maybe if we reached out to them, that could happen. I like the map. I think it's workable because we're going to have a discussion on mobile. With no discussion on mobile, I don't think the map works. But know that we could bring something in town, you know, once a month, whatever it might be, on a regular basis, on a certain time, then I think that's good. And from the good neighbor standpoint, from my good neighbor right here.
One second, Councilor. If audience members could please refrain from speaking. You have several options. You could head out to the hall, or you can go home and watch this on YouTube, like many are already doing. Please, stop. Thank you. Councilor Gallant, please
Yes,
continue.
And the good neighbor thing, I look at the good neighbor is they're telling their clients, this is what we expect of you, and make sure, you know, that you do it. I don't think we need to waste a police officer's time calling up an SSP and saying, I caught up with Tim Gallant, and he was doing this, and they go, well, we didn't see Tim today, because the police aren't going to know. So the reality is a good neighbor, that's why I wouldn't give you a second, so you'd know, is that a good neighbor is that they're going to give them what's required of them. But they're not going to hold their hand and walk out 1,000 feet or have a map in their facility that says, remember, if you're going to do this stuff, see that little red line right over here? You got to be over there so we don't get in trouble. So I think good neighbor is informative. Part of what they do is their process and their program.
Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. I do think that either of the hospital locations would be quite ideal if they obviously have the capacity to do that. However, we would have to amend this zoning. They're both in prohibited zones and too close to other uses as it's currently written.
Was that it, Councilor Harriman? Yeah. Councilor Chittum, yes.
That amending this requires the whole ordinance process. 2 readings. We've been working on this since November. If we have an applicant, or we have one of the hospitals that says we want to start an SSP program, we've gone through the CDC, we've been certified, our hands are tied if we adopt this now, unless we go through the 2 ordinance amendment readings again. Frankly, I've had enough of SSPs. I would like to move this along, but this is an exercise in the nastiness of making rules. What we're doing here is making laws, and my goal is to make those laws as sensible, reasonable, and as light-handed as possible to the businesses that are providing services to our residents.
Just for clarification, Councillor Chittum, so somebody could propose an amendment right this second, a carve out for hospital locations, and then we would, I guess I'm a little confused that it would take longer.
Well, if the amendment were proposed tonight, yes, we could do that, but this is, I'd like to think, are there areas other than hospitals? Someone mentioned B Street. Now, is that a hospital? These things we can do on the fly and run a very good chance of missing something or getting it wrong, or we can do it deliberatively and with full awareness, which takes time. So,
understood. Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Gallant.
I have a question for City Clerk. If we get the license for approval, can we not at that time just say that a CMCC or a St. Mary's can do it without having to redo the whole ordinance? I mean, don't we have the power at this table to be able to say, we're gonna change it for this particular reason, or do we have to go through the whole process?
You'd have to go through the whole process. At this point, there is no local licensing, it's just the state level. So if any entity applies to the state for this type of designation, they don't have to go through the state, the city for any licensing at this point, because the ordinance isn't on the books.
If the ordinance was on the books, say we already approved everything,
Okay.
and someone comes to us inside the little pink zone over here, that we have salmon, for those out there who like that color, that you would be able to, we could, without having to rewrite the whole ordinance or 2 readings, could we just say, we're gonna give St. Mary's the okay, or we have to do the whole thing?
You'd have to amend the ordinance
Okay.
to make them eligible. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
The other option I would like to present to the council is since we license who they are and where they're located, we could pull this entire zoning map and then decide things on a case-by-case basis. Councillor Longchaps, did you have your?
Couldn't we just add the hospitals in now? Could we put them in?
If I may, I don't mean to put words into the councilor's mouth, but, you know, there's other establishments besides just hospitals. So
Right.
yes, you could include hospitals now, but to Councilor Najean's point, if there's a medical facility that's providing some sort of medical services as a use, do you add those now as well? Or what do you do for the future?
It's not like there's a ton of them. I mean, that's the reality. There's B Street, there's St. Mary's, there's CMMC. Which one?
Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
WorkMed.
Where are they?
Well, I don't think.
I mean, and we're.
A gazillion doctor's offices.
Sorry, one second, councilors, one at a time. Councilor Longchaps, did you have anything else?
I think I got it. Basically, we could add them in if we wanted to. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're just up here, thinking out loud at this point. Nobody's had a
Right.
chance to check in with hospital execs and so on and so forth.
Well, no,
So,
but
yeah,
I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Director Connor, one second if I may. Thank you. My personal preference, just for ease of use and, or just to be clear, we could just pull this zoning map. We have complete control of who goes in and where, and then as Councilor Chittum suggests, do a comprehensive zoning map as time permits. Director Connor.
I would caution on that because if you did away with all of the zoning map, if an applicant came to you, what would you be measuring it against? You would need something to measure it against. But I guess my question would be, if you wanted to include all current medical use facilities rather than a future medical use. If somebody just spun up and got a license and said, oh, we're medical use now, they could go anywhere. But if you were to say all current medical facilities would be included in the ordinance, just a suggestion.
No, you bring up an excellent point, Director Connor. Thank you. Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. A couple things. I feel like this sort of conversation should really have more deliberation and not be just something that we're doing on the fly. The other issue is that I do think the current map that we see here is not workable. The problem is if we take the entire thing away, then as Director Connor, or similar to what Director Connor said, somebody coming in has no, basically they have to guess. They're throwing darts at the map. Like, council, will this one be okay? Will this one be okay? So we need to give some sort of guidelines. I just think what we have here is far too restrictive.
Councilor Sol, did you have something?
I would like to move the question.
Well, just just so we understand what we're doing with that motion, Madam Clerk, we do not have an amendment on the table, do we?
Correct. The motion before you is the main motion that's printed in your book, and you did already incorporate that one amendment regarding the one-to-one exchange. But the motion before you is first passage for the ordinance as presented minus the one-to-one.
Exactly. And so I just want to make clear, Councilor Sol, that when you're asking to move the question, you're talking about the entire motion. And there's still other things to talk about besides zoning. We're just in general discussion at this moment. There's no amendment for zoning at this point.
Second.
We have a second. We've a motion to move the question. We have a second. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Will there be discussion on the motion? No, sorry.
Just to be clear, Madam Clerk, if I have this right, if the council votes to move this question, we will stop debate over the rest of the ordinance, and then we will vote on the main motion. Is that correct? Okay, just so all councilors are aware. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, it was Councilor Sol and Councilor
Gallant.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so Councilor from Ward 2.
Can you read it for me? Sorry.
Sure. So the motion before you would be to move the question, which means that we will stop all discussion, and then the very next item will be to vote on adoption of first passage of the entire ordinance as proposed, minus the language on the one-to-one.
Yes.
Okay. Councilor from Ward 3,
No.
Ward 4,
No.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
No.
Ward 7,
Yes.
Ward 1.
No.
Motion failed.
We are, yes, now we're back here. Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I said before, this is a messy process. We were elected to sit up here and make hard decisions and get involved in the messy process. We have a lot of work to do on this ordinance before we're ready to take action on the ordinance as a whole. I have a number of other amendments that I would like to propose. I'm mindful of the fact that it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm mindful of the fact that we have been working on this effectively since November, so it's been nearly a year in the making. But I'm also very adamant that we do this properly. It's very easy for us to sit up here and get tired because it's 10 o'clock at night and say, yeah, let's move this along, let's make a decision, and it's not the right decision for the city. So I urge my fellow councilors to bear with it, stick with it, and if we have to table this and continue this first reading to another session, so be it. This is tricky business, making laws, and I think we were all entrusted to do it properly. So I urge you to take that into consideration.
Thank you, Councilor Chittum. So yes, it is now currently 9:55. We have foregone our break earlier. Do we want, I imagine that we probably have, I mean, honestly, perhaps another hour or two of discussion on this ordinance. Do we want to keep moving on this ordinance, or do we want to table this to the next meeting and then pick up the rest of the agenda for which we have people here waiting? Councillor Glant, what are your thoughts?
I'm not concerned with tabling as much as I prefer that Councilor Chittum explain all his reasoning, because we're not going to gain anything other than 2.5 more hours at our next meeting. So perhaps we would allow him to give his explanation on the paperwork he gave us, no comments from us, to debate it, so we understand his thought process. So when we do come back, if we don't agree with it, we can be prepared to debate it at that time. Because if not, it's just going to be a waste of time, quite frankly. So, I mean, if he goes through and says, and a good example is, one of them's here, you know, he doesn't like something, it's read out and it's crossed out. He gives a brief synopsis of why he did that. We take our notes, and then when we come back next time, we won't have to have it read to us, and all of us, 6 people, have questions for him on what we're thinking about. I think that would be positive, Mr. Mayor.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that since Councillor Chittum, prepared this document, he quickly give us the Cliff Notes version, and then we call it a night for this specific agenda item. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
All right, Councillor Najin, yes, your thoughts, sir.
I would take that maybe just a little step further and say that if he has amendments that he's proposing, he could read the amendments and we could decide either to adopt them or not without a lot of discussion, or table those amendments to the next meeting, right? So it's either we adopt them, we don't, or we table that amendment discussion. So we could just work through the document.
No, I understand. It is getting late, and I don't mean this as, I'm not trying to be funny here, but I don't believe that this council is able to adopt amendments without a lot of discussion. That's where I'm coming from. Councillor Longchamps, your thoughts on all this?
Yes. I just feel like it's being dragged out again. With all due respect, Councillor Chittum, my decision's not going to change. I've read the ordinance. I agree with it. I think time is going to tell whether we adopt this or not. There'll be some things that'll work, and I'm sure there'll be some things that will need to be changed. I'm not sure why we're surrounding this around you, to be completely honest. So my decision is not, my answer is not going to change. And I don't think anyone else's is either. But for some reason, you continue to push this down the road. And you hate kicking the can down the road, but you're doing it quite well on this one.
If councillors could please address concerns through the mayor, that'd be great. And thank you. Councillor Longchamps, did you have anything else?
No. No.
Councillor Harriman, your thoughts on the current state of things?
Yes, I mean, there are several of us up here who have varying concerns about provisions in this, and I think we need to make sure that we hear each of the members of the council, hear their concerns, and talk about them, and we can't just throw our hands up and say it's getting late, so we need to rush through this. If we need more time, we can table it. I'm willing to stay as long as possible. I can stay here all night if we need to, but I know that won't be the most productive thing. But there are real concerns with this ordinance, and I think we need to make sure we get it right. We've got public health riding on this. It's not just some trivial thing. This is the health of our community that we're talking about, and we need to make sure we get it right.
Thank you. 1 second, Councillor Longchamps. So at this point, I would just entertain a motion that we table this to the next meeting. It's obviously getting late for all of us, and we have a few agenda items left with people waiting. It's not just us. But that would be my preference at this point. Director Connor, did you want to chime in?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I believe Councillor Chittum at the very beginning said he had 4 levels of the major items. And I think Councilor Harriman kind of echoed that. I was wondering if it would please the council and you, Mr. Mayor, if I could at least hear what those 4 major items of concern were, and so that I could at least be prepared for the next meeting. Would that be possible or not?
Yeah, sure. Anything's possible at this point, Director Connor. Perhaps if it's amenable to the council, I have a couple concerns that have not been addressed yet. Perhaps, Councillor Chittum, if we could start with you, and you could just give a brief synopsis, and then we can all get our concerns out, and then we can table it.
These are the cliff notes, very, very briefly. The 4 levels I have are 60,000 feet, 30,000 feet, 20,000 feet, and then my own personal favorite, the commas, the misplaced conjunctions. Those things can be dealt with at a staff level. I'd like to clarify that staff can make changes if there are typographic errors. The first level is the 60,000 feet, the top level. The one-for-one, the zoning issues, grandfathering, which apparently is no longer an issue. We have not talked about that. There's a provision in the ordinance that would exempt existing SSPs for 16 days, and if they filed a timely application, they could get 4 months. That's no longer applicable because we have no SSPs that are in areas that would not be acceptable were this ordinance to pass. So that's an example of a top-tier 60,000 foot issue. The second level are questions that I have, as evidenced by, did the planning board weigh on this? Where did these zones come from? The third level is style and clarity. Very often we find in here that only is misplaced. You can only do this if. The only's in the wrong place. Those are really clerical. That's third level. And the fourth level are the staff fixes. This comma's at the wrong place. You've got an extra and in this paragraph. As I said, that's my favorite kind. But I've been told by the council that they don't appreciate spending time on the days debating about Oxford commas. The suggestion by Councillor Gallant that I go through the top level, and there are 4 of those. We've already addressed one. One of them has been shot down for lack of second. I have 2 others, and I would very quickly go through those. We can mull them over, and then we could table this or continue it until our October 7th meeting or the next meeting.
Please proceed, Councillor Chittum.
May I refer to my notes?
Yes.
All right. Evidence that this is subsection 9 of 22-494, which says evidence of all land use approvals, conditional land use approvals, et cetera, would be required with every application. Surely that only means the initial application and not all renewals. And I think that requires a council decision. I don't believe staff can make that change. Okay. We have requested on section 22-495, item 7 and 8, those are redundant. These provisions provide that the licensing authority, which is either the city clerk or the city council, has the authority to impose conditions. That's already inherent and implicit in earlier provisions. So those are redundancies, but that's something that I think the council would have to act on rather than having staff deal with it. And those are the 60,000 foot areas.
I'll jump in really quickly. I have a problem with section 22-496. At the end of that first paragraph, it says, our application or to copy any and all records seems a little much and completely unreasonable, actually. Councillor, I have some of the same concerns that Councillor Chittum have, but that's like something that hasn't been discussed yet. Councillor Harriman, yes.
Thank you. Yes, that was one that stuck out to me as well. It seems like possibly a patient privacy or HIPAA violation if you can copy every single record that exists in an SSP. The main things, though, that I have right now are the zoning is too restrictive. We should allow mobile units, and under Section 22-499, subsection 6, it doesn't allow operation on weekends. And I just think SSPs should be able to set the hours that they operate within reason, maybe not 24/7, but to just restrict Saturday and Sunday just seems arbitrary, and also goes against the philosophy that we've talked about of having multiple contacts. I realize that they don't all operate on Saturday and Sunday right now, but it should be an option, in my opinion.
Councillor Najin.
So one of the pieces was documentation provided to the city, and ultimately the documentation that's provided to the city, I believe, is the same as that's provided from the CDC, right? If it could just be clearer in the language, basically saying that copies of what are sent to the CDC or what's sent to us, just because that seems to be kind of open. And then another piece is there any specification on the amount of licenses that can be issued? Two? So
This current ordinance in its current state.
So I would like to see, one with the ability to review that in 6 months, from whenever this passes. Or I'd like to see a moratorium on any new SSP until the 6 months passes. Basically, I know there's one operation in our community that I very much trust. I've seen other operations in other communities that seem to be run very, very well. And I until we demonstrate that there's a need for more, I'm not necessarily in favor of seeing more than, it's not a business, right? To me anyways. It's a community resource.
Councillor Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things that I would like to see. I think the map is a little restrictive. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it change. The other thing is I am not in favor of restricting to one provider. I believe that we should reserve the right to decide if another provider, let's say, a big-time, well-known provider that's doing great work somewhere but has an interest in Lewiston or has a foothold in Lewiston, I'd really like to have that, to be able to make that decision. I don't think we should restrict it to one. That's not what we need. The other thing is let's see, mobile services. We need mobile services. I can't in good conscience vote for something that does not include mobile services. So those are my changes.
Operating under the premise that we will be tabling this to discuss this at the next meeting, and right now we are simply providing, our concerns feedback to Director Connor. Is there anything else that needs to be brought forward at this time? Councillor Chittum, yes.
Yes, I would like all councillors, I appreciate the opportunity to have this distributed to you and to the public and to administration. I'm sorry that it came at the 11th hour, if you will, but I did spend basically the entire weekend working on these comments, so that's how strongly I feel about it. I would like to have a clarification from the city clerk and administrator about the ordinance adoption process. If we could step back from this syringe for a moment, Mr. Mayor?
Well, can we put a pin in that for right this second?
All right, I will move then that we table continued discussion on this until October 7th.
Well, one second before we did that, if that's okay.
Oh, you had something else in mind.
I trying to, yes. Councilor Herman, did you have something that was most pressing?
No, I think other councilors addressed it. Thanks.
Okay. Councilor Najin, did you have anything else?
Just real quick. So when I had mentioned the outpatient healthcare facilities, I'm not quite sure if we have a licensing aspect for that in the community. I'm sure we do, right? Like if you're, because I'm trying to figure out what the definition would be, right? Because I do think that those facilities, spaces within those facilities, could be suitable for SSPs to operate from. But I think that's tough because that's a use and not a zone. And so we need to figure out how to define that.
Councilor, thank you, Councilor Najin. Sorry, were you finished?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Councilor Chittum, if we could, since I don't believe discussion about the process will be necessary in order to make a decision to table it, if we could do that under reports and updates, I think that would be helpful.
I'm fine with that, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. May I have a motion to table this till the next meeting?
I move to table further discussion on the syringe services ordinance until October 7th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Harriman seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counsel from Ward 2?
No.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
No.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
No.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 4 to 3.
Thank you, Director Connor. Thank you to everyone who spoke. We will pick this back up on the 7th. Madam Clerk, I believe, councilors, do you want to take a brief recess? Yeah, we're going to take 5, and then we're going to get back up and running with, are we still live? Yeah, okay. Is it item number 13, Madam Clerk,
Yes.
when we come back? I will be back with item number 13 momentarily. We appreciate your patience.
I'm sorry I told you to stop laughing. It's just. Well, because I'm gonna move the question. Because you were.
And we're back. Thank you all so much. If we can have it quiet in the audience, that would be great. And counselors, we are actually getting going and on the air.
All right.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, item number 13.
Sir, item number 13, order authorizing the city administrator to execute a purchase and sale agreement with the Lewiston Auburn Community Market Incorporated. Requested action to approve the order authorizing the city administrator to execute a purchase and sale agreement with the Lewiston Auburn Community Market Incorporated.
So moved.
May I have a motion?
Second.
Yes, Councilor Glenn, second by Councilor Harriman. Director, she used to be the chamber president, yes, a long time ago, and not too long ago. Becky Conrad, please kick us off.
I'm Becky Conrad. I live in Auburn. I'm here as an advisor to this project. I'm here to answer questions if you have them.
Questions, comments from the council? Okay. Councilor Chittum, did you have something?
The lack of questions doesn't mean a lack of interest or excitement about this project at all. I think we've been fully briefed on it, and I hope the council's ready to vote affirmatively.
And I have information, and I'm happy to go into any details you'd like to know more about. But attentive to the time, I want to make sure I can help you keep moving.
I appreciate that. Further questions, comments from the council? Public comment for this agenda item? Okay.
Yeah, you weren't going to get out scot-free tonight. Come on. Well, how about we actually have a presentation for the 8 people watching on YouTube what this purchase and sales is actually going to do. Thank you.
Further questions, comments from the council?
Would you like a...
Sorry, one second. If councilors could refrain from speaking, that'd be great.
Talking. No
Do we?
one's talking.
Thank you. Public, we are still public comment. Is there any further public comment for this agenda item?
I will keep it very brief. Kirsten Walter, the Executive Director of Gather to Grow. For those who are watching, the 8 viewers, as well as the council, some of you have been involved from very early in this process, and some of you not, but just to express deep gratitude to the partnership with the city and the council for support of this really critical program that has been, had tons and tons of work and research going into it since before 2019 to get to this point. It's a really exciting night, and I look forward to your vote. Thank you.
Matthew Agron, Ward 4. I'm going to echo my friend's comment here. Can we not have a presentation on this so we can see exactly what's being voted on? Yes, it's in our pamphlets, but how do we know that something is not being changed, Councilor Chittum? I'm asking because you changed the ordinance tonight. You did all your highlighting over the weekend. We don't know if you're going to change something tonight. I think we should have a whole presentation on this. Thank you.
Further public comment? Back to the council.
I'm just so excited this is happening, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Public comment is now closed. Further discussion, comments from the council? Councilor Najin.
I'm prepared to vote on this tonight, but is it possible that there could be a presentation? I mean, I know it's in the packet, but is it possible that there could be a small presentation at the next meeting?
At the which meeting, sorry?
At the next meeting, just, there was a presentation prepared, and we're not going to see it.
Right,
But
yeah.
Just because I don't think everybody knows about the sale of the property, or why we're moving forward with it, or what they're doing. That's all.
No, fair enough. Councilor Longchamps, did you have something?
I just wanted to say I'm really excited about this project. I know you guys have been working at it for a long time, and it's something that's definitely needed, so I'm super excited. And maybe someone could just brief us real quick on what it is. Not us, but the public.
Becky, if you could just spend the briefest of moments to give a brief overview.
Happy to do that. And we do apologize that there was a presentation by staff. Unfortunately, the timing tonight didn't work and he had to leave. So just very pleased to report that this is a reuse for our current vacant site where our former police station was, 171 Park Street. It's a 1 acre parcel with 4 pieces, making the 1 acre. We will raise the police station, and we will build a 20,000 square foot new facility that encompasses a full-service grocery to serve both the pedestrian access from the downtown as well as the major artery of Lisbon Street for vehicular traffic. It will have on-site parking as well as off-street parking. It will have 6 commercial kitchens for food service startups. It will have access to space for food trucks in the parking lot. There'll be a cafe. There will be a series of storage, dry and cold storage for local farms. There'll be some community space. It's a hub for food, local produce. It will serve our ever-growing community of lots of different kinds of foods that we're all looking for that lots of folks can't buy locally. It's geared toward being accessible to our entire community, our entire region, but focused on serving our Tree Street neighborhood. It came out of planning for years and years and years, but most recently was really memorialized in the Growing Our Tree Streets report. And we're very thrilled that we can find a location and grateful to the city for the partnership to honor the planning you've all done around what our downtown wants to be and can be by activating this site in a really positive way.
Thank you.
And it's a for-profit enterprise, and we look forward to paying property taxes.
Thank you very much, Becky. Kirk and Matt, if we could get the side screen working, that'd be great. Further comments, questions from the council? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
We now have item number 14, update, Madam Clerk. Item number 14, please.
Item number 14, update from the Lewiston Housing Authority.
I didn't mean to start doing your job.
Perfectly fine, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
Please introduce yourself and please continue with the update.
I am Chris Kilmurray. I'm the Executive Director of Lewiston Housing. I'll try and go through this as quick as possible for you guys. Please just jump in wherever you want along the way and I'll answer questions. First one, Martel, Phase 1. Remain very confident that we'll be closing by the end of the year on this. Obviously, the economics changed pretty dramatically over the last 6 months. We did have to go through a fairly large VE process on the value engineering process, but we've gotten through that. Everything looks good. We have a deal that works. That's going to be moving forward here shortly to, we're getting our final GMP pricing to go out. That'll be back in mid-October. It'll go to Maine Housing for loan committee. And then move on to closing, and we'll hopefully, we are confident we will have a shovel in the ground by the end of the year. So that'll be exciting. Phase 2, that's already funded, will be the goal with that one. A good piece that worked out with this, a good large chunk of the value engineering is we always design these 2 buildings to go together. The way we were able to sort of make everything work was by moving forward on the plans for Phase 2 and doing more combined work on the 2 sites. So we're actually significantly further along on Phase 2 because of that. All the work we did on Phase 1 to make it work, we're already at 50% plans. We feel really confident that we'll be able to transition immediately from construction, finishing on Phase 1 and beginning on Phase 2, maybe even overlapping at some point in time in there, which is great. Phase 3 is still very early stages, but we're confident that we'll be submitting that for a 4% plus subsidy application in the spring of next year for funding at the end of that year. So 144 units total when all is said and done. First phase starts in December, and then it'll be a year, 44 units every consecutive year after that, if we get funded on the 3rd phase and the first time through. But we have the first 2 phases funded. So starting in December, 2 years, that'll be 88 units, and hopefully we'll get the other one funded shortly thereafter. Okay, moving on to Wedgwood. Choice-related stuff, Wedgwood. Final building is going to be completed here at the end of the month. Lease up is ahead of schedule. That building will be totally leased up. All 82 units will be fully leased by the end of the year, which is great. Across the street, you'll see that DeWitt has already begun. That site will be done at the end of 2026. 15,000 square feet of commercial space on the first floor in the two different buildings and 104 units of mixed income housing.
Councilor Chinham, did you have a question about
You
DeWitt?
invited questions as you speak, is that correct?
Yeah, sure.
Director Kilmurray. So DeWitt will be completed and people moved in by the end of next year?
It's about
16 months away.
that 16-month build, yeah. People will be starting to move in.
Okay.
They will not be fully moved in, but people
All
will
right.
be starting to move in by that time.
Okay, that's good news.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've seen it. The foundations are already in on half the property, and the steel's going up on the other section, so it's moving along quite
Foundations in,
quickly.
yep. When do we get the parking back?
That I don't know exactly yet, to be honest with you. B Street Health Center, we talked about that earlier. We had to sort of pivot a little bit because of the way main care funding changed over the last couple months in the state, but we're really excited that we were able to actually put something back together there. The changed plans went back out again. We hope to have those done in the next couple of weeks, send those back out for pricing, get a shovel started on that project in before the end of the year, 60 to 65 days or so. We should get going on that deal, and that'll take about 6 to 9 months to complete that. Soleil Phase 1, that is funded. We're in the CM process, right? CM selection process right now. So that one we're looking at online in the end of 2027 when we finally finish that project. Soleil Phase 2 is being submitted Thursday to the 9% program for Maine State Housing Authority. So, fingers crossed. We're told there's more than 20 applicants going into that phase, round of funding right now. So it'll be very competitive. If we don't get funded in that one, we'll put it back in the 4% plus subsidy when it loops back around in the spring. 163 Bate Street. We are going to be closing on that property in the next 45 days. It is 36 SRO units. There's going to be 11 market rate units in there, 25 project-based units in there, and 8 of those project-based units are going to be VASH units for former veterans, and that comes with veteran-specific services along with that as well. Kind of excited about that. It's a new venture for us. It made sense that it was on the same block for us to buy that property, just to have some control over that property, since it was literally the only piece in that end that we didn't control. But it's also a new piece of the puzzle, I think, for us to sort of help some housing problems in the city. So very excited about that. And then the last piece is we're going to be submitting all the remaining just about 400 units of public housing on 3 different sites into HUD for our Section 22 disposition process. This will allow us to change from public housing to project-based Section 8 for all those properties. It'll have almost zero impact to any of the residents. The funding, the way in which we calculate incomes remains relatively the same, but public housing subsidy does not play well with tax credits. Project-based subsidy does. This will allow us to take these properties that have been well maintained for the last 50 years, and then start to move them over to get recapitalized, so it'll last us another 50 years through the tax credit program. So it's a long-term play, but it's the first really, really important piece to make sure that we're able to keep those properties in the city. So more to come on those as time goes on. But that's the overall update.
Thank you, Director. Councilor Nagy.
So just real quick on the 400 units, that the project-based piece that you mentioned. So that's moving over from public housing to private housing in the process.
It's not private. It's just HUD right now has 2 different funding streams that they had created. They're really just trying to consolidate everybody over into project-based Section 8, get it all into one of their programs. They're trying to move the entire country out of public housing. It's a completely different way in which it's virtually the same type of funding, but it's a different mechanism, and public housing does not work well with tax credits when you're trying to recapitalize properties.
And this allows you to recapitalize in order to repair and maintain the units in order to keep them rentable as opposed to becoming distressed, correct?
Correct, to do a full, recapitalization of these properties, like completely.
Tear down and rebuild, yeah. I just want to say thank you for coming and thanks for the updates.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Further questions? Yes, Councillor Chittum.
Quick question. Does Salil 2 have any advantage or disadvantage by having Salil 1 in the pipeline?
In terms of funding, it does not have any advantage. In terms of way we're able to take advantage of other systems in there, because we're doing the same thing we did with Martel, where the buildings will be connected to each other, it does have operational advantages to it.
Okay, so from funding standpoint, we're neither advantaged nor disadvantaged. It's treated as a separate project.
It's treated as a separate product, but we're able to, I don't want to say we're potentially able to change the amount of subsidy that we need to ask for, which would then make us more competitive. But as a standalone property, when we put it in, it doesn't, like if we were to just say, look at this property by itself, it doesn't necessarily have any advantages because of that.
Thank you.
Further comments, questions from the council? Director Kilmurray, we appreciate you being a partner in success for Lewiston, and thanks for sticking it out tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thank you from our friends in the audience. One second, Director Kilmurray, please come back for a second. Yeah, we're now going to public comment for this agenda item.
Matthew Agron, Ward 4. Martell School. Is this a hard guarantee that this time we'll have shovels in the ground in December? Because we've been told April, June, by September, sometime later this fall. Now you're saying December. This project is just not coming together for seniors. And we were told a year ago by you that this project, stage 1, was fully funded. So I'm trying to figure out why we are continuing to back this project back up the line. And every time you give us a date, it falls back farther. Our seniors need these houses. But the way this is going, by the time this house is available, I'll qualify. Thank you.
Public comment is now closed. Thank you, Director Kilmurray.
Thank you.
And if I could just add one thing.
If you'd like.
55 and older does qualify. So I almost qualify for the housing right now, to be honest with you. So a lot more people qualify than you think for the housing up there. It'll be beautiful. I hope all of your names are on the waiting list because it'll likely be very long.
Thank you, Director. We are now up to public comment for those that did not speak during public comment earlier. Our second public comment section is now closed. We are now up to reports and updates. Director Chittum, I invite you to pose your question about process for ordinances.
Yes, thank you. I have been told, I understand, that when an ordinance is passed in first reading, that any changes to that have to be minor, inconsequential, and any substantive changes kick it back to first reading. Is that correct understanding?
That has been past practice, really based upon parliamentary procedure as well as the right to know law, citizen disclosure. We will place the legal ad letting folks know that the public hearing is such and such a time. The information is available in the city clerk's office or on the website, and then if it's substantially changed, the past practice has been that we would repeat first passage out of fairness to communication to the residents. However, we have had a conversation just slightly over here at the table. As has been noted multiple times this evening, this conversation has been going on since November. But the first passage is being continued to the next meeting anyway, but that amendment will carry forward with it. So it certainly appears that there'll be plenty of resident communication and knowledge that the one-to-one has now been removed from the draft language.
Okay, I'm just trying to fully understand the process and figure out how to make it as efficient as possible. As I've said several times tonight, legislating is a messy, messy process. It's just like making sausages. Nobody wants to watch it. We certainly don't want to participate in it, but it has to be done. And so my takeaway from what you just said is that once an ordinance has been finalized in first reading, then the second reading is effectively a rubber stamp to that, without starting the process all over again.
Unless there's minor changes.
Well, I say significant changes, right?
Usually the bigger changes are fleshed out in first passage.
And who determines whether a change is minor or significant?
I mean, I think ultimately the body, I think ultimately the council. Staff can certainly recommend or advise, but it's certainly up to the council to decide if they agree or not.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm still learning. I recognize that my fellow councilors are not always appreciative of my pickiness, but my heart's in the right place, and I'm trying to do it properly. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it efficiently, and I'm coming to the conclusion there really isn't a way to do it efficiently. We have to sit up here and do the messy stuff. Thank you. I do have other reports.
I would like to, well, please continue with your other report. We're going to talk about that subject for 1 second, and then we will come back to you. Yes, Councillor Harriman.
Thank you. I just had a comment on that topic. I think we could also, with a supermajority of the council, we could suspend the rules that require the second reading to happen on another day, and we could perform both readings of the ordinance on at the same meeting, if we desired, or is that not true?
Oh, gosh, I would have to take a look at the language. I would have to refresh my memory.
Okay.
Because we've had so many changes to the council rules. I don't dare answer that off the top of my head.
All right, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yes, I do not recommend to the council that we try to skip readings or otherwise short-circuit the process. I think pragmatically speaking, Councillor Chittum, we will arrive at the next meeting at largely what we would like, then pass at the first reading, and I'd be surprised if it was changed substantially at the second reading. So I think we should be mostly good to go in this particular instance. Councillor Chittum, you had other updates.
Yes, I wanted to report that the Purple Bus, the Transit Committee has met. Purple Bus has been undergoing some dramatic changes, or will be on October 1st. We have a new contractor, RTW, will be taking over operation of the transit system from Western Main Transportation, which has been running the buses for close to 20 years now, I believe. So there will be a change of foot in that aspect of it. Also, some of the routes are changing, and some of there's a new feature called demand response, which is being implemented. The details are still being worked out even at this 11th hour. There is a handout which is available that lists all of it's 6 pages long, and it lists all the schedules, all the stops, and how to work the demand response, which basically extends the area, the reach of the transit system in Greater Lewiston and Auburn. Because these details are still being worked out, I encourage you, if you have questions, to visit the www Purple Bus. Could we focus on this brochure, please? www.purplebus.org is the place to keep an eye on. Changes have not been reflected there yet, but they will be in advance of the October 1st change. Thank you, Councillor Gallant, for displaying that. So,
I'd like to get zoomed up, but I guess everybody's asleep.
Nobody's asleep. We're all doing our damnedest, I can assure you. Anything further, Councillor Chittum?
No.
Councillor Harriman, yes.
Thank you. So also, the Auburn City Council had an update from Larry Allen from AvCog at their meeting, which was last night. So if anyone has a chance to watch that video, there's more information there, as well as the resources Councillor Chittum mentioned. I've got an update from the school committee. So we met last week. We had a nice presentation from each of the directors and school principals, sort of a start of the year update. I won't go into all the details. You can check out the school committee meeting video for that. We also had an update on all the things that facilities worked on over the summer while students weren't in school. There were some playground updates at some of the schools, paving at the entryway of Montello to make that more accessible, and the flooring at Longley was replaced, and they were very excited about that. Also, there was some data about the math and reading assessments that was presented, and the LPS is getting the best scores since 2016 to 17 as far as growth in math and reading. So that's really good news that that students are sort of catching back up after the lull during COVID, where there was a little bit of stagnation or backsliding there. So yeah, best scores in quite a while. And that's all I've got for school committee.
Councillor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll be having our first county budget meeting on the 24th, next Wednesday, 6 p.m. There is seating for people who want to be in the audience and watch us do what we do. Also, the Rally for Recovery, I mentioned it earlier this evening, is this Saturday. A lot of people think it's just for people who maybe have addictions or suffering through things. It's really for everyone to come down and see what's being offered in our community to help people who suffer from addictions and different mental health problems. There'll probably be about 30 vendors there explaining what services are offered, from paid services to free services. So I'd invite the public to come on down and see. There'll be some free food, there'll be speakers, some music. It's a really good time, and it's going to be really good weather. Thank you, Mayor.
Further reports and updates from councillors. We are now up to new business. Should there, Councillor Najin, yes.
Just really quickly, I guess it's not 100% new business, but I just want to state publicly, I greatly appreciate the work of both Public Works and Maine DOT on the reworking of the Main Street corridor. It's nice to see all of our sidewalks, crosswalks clearly delineated, the step backs for parking, it's nice. That, and I just wanted to acknowledge the op-ed written by Jennifer Hogan from Community Credit Union. It's something that I'm certainly thinking about quite a bit. Not quite sure where to go forward with it, but it was pretty powerful. So then thank you for writing it. Thank you for caring about our community.
Councillor Harriman.
Thank you. I guess it's not really ready for an agenda item yet, but just wanted to put a bug in people's ear about potentially about rent stabilization. Saw an article in the Press Herald recently in the past couple days of some other municipalities who have discussed it, especially for mobile home parks. There's sort of an added layer there where you own your home, but you don't own the land, and so you're held hostage a little bit more than someone in an apartment. So I just wanted to sort of get that on people's radar. And then the second thing was, Madam Clerk, I know every year you typically do an update on elections and the process there. And I know we had a question from the audience. And I don't know if you have that on your schedule for one of our upcoming meetings, but I just wanted to put a reminder out there for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gallant, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the city administrator to ask our legislative body to come visit us so we can discuss things as we did over a year ago. We did ask them to come between now and then, but they were too busy. So I'd like to talk to them, and we can do as before, get questions from everybody up here so they could have them in advance. But I think it'd be important to come and talk to us, in particular school mandates that we're having to pay for. And you alluded to earlier this evening this housing situation where the state has allowed people to buy houses and put 6, 8, 10 people in it in neighborhoods, and we're losing people in those neighborhoods, and they're having numerous police calls that are not funded from the state, but yet we're required to take care of them. So I'd like to see them come visit us, sir.
Further updates or I guess, new business from councilors? Madam Clerk, I believe we have an executive session to go to.
Yes, sir. Executive session pursuant to Maine Revised Statutes annotated Title I, Section 4056A, to discuss a personnel matter. Requested action to enter into an executive session pursuant to Maine Revised Statutes annotated Title I, Section 4056A, to discuss a personnel matter.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum.
Second?
Seconded by Councilor Harriman. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
No.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 to 1.
Thank you, everyone. Good night, Lewiston.